This is the RPM Podcast, starring Eric Brennan,
No matter how much you wiggle and dance, the last few drops always land in your pants.
Sam Ballard Jr.,
I can barely last half an hour.
Neil Rutt III,
I'm a motherfucking dwarf.
Nick Rendo,
Luigi follow only the Ferraris.
and Josh Matthews.
I learned that 57 is an even number.
And here we are again, episode 133 of the RPM podcast. On 4/15/2019, everybody have their taxes all paid up. Today is tax day.
Is it today or tomorrow? I thought it was tomorrow.
Pretty sure it was
the
today.
15th, right?
I think it had to be in at least postmarked by today.
Postmarked
Yeah,
today.
something like
Okay,
that.
yeah.
I need a new fire
So,
shot.
yeah, it's a windy Monday night at 9:09 p.m. We're a little delayed because Josh and the main studios down there in Waretown had no power to about 15 minutes ago. So we're happy the power came back on.
I actually had the entire setup running off the inverter in my truck. I had everything powered up. I got all the bugs worked out. My modem was being powered, so I had internet to do the connection, and it was perfect. I was like, all right, here we go. It's just going to be a little bit dimmer in the studio, and it was on for about a minute or so, and then the power came back on. So
You're right. We got a jam-packed show today. I mean, we got some guests, and we got I just want to welcome Aaron Leinemann. He's sitting down with Josh down in Waretown. He's a 24 Hours Lemons racer. He's at Wall every Saturday night when he can. He's been around racing for a long time. How you doing, Aaron?
I'm good. How you guys doing tonight?
We're doing good. We got Tim Riggleman up in his Farmingdale studios. Hey, Tim, how you doing?
I'm good. Ready to go.
And it's a pleasure to have Ted Groh with us. He's sitting in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Ted's a longtime announcer. He's been announcing at Evergreen for the last 4 years, and he's doing it again this year. Hey, Ted, how you doing, buddy?
Good, Scott. Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, anytime, Ted. You're welcome anytime, man, especially when Evergreen gets rolling up there. We'd love to have you on. You can give us updates what's going on top of the mountain up there.
well, let's introduce real quick our main host for tonight, former Evergreen announcer, former Evergreen flagger.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to announce myself, Scott Riggleman. I experienced Riverhead. I got experience at Evergreen too. I was an announcer, and Ted, they pulled me out of the announcing tower to be the flagger. I mean, so you got to be ready, man. You got to be ready to throw those flags if we need you. Plus, I got a
Wild
championship
stuff, man.
World Series. I love Evergreen. Me and my brother grew up going up there. Ted, I know you know us as New Jersey racers, but my dad was part of a street stockers racing club back in the 80s, and they had 10 shows up there. It was a New Jersey-based street stockers club. They ran at New Jersey Speedway on a quarter mile, but they got 10 shows up at Evergreen one year, and they raced one Sunday a month for the whole time they were open. I think it was two a month for 5 months. Yeah, and me and my brother used to go up there on Sundays with my dad, and my dad used to race street stocks. Then what my dad would do, there was a racer up there called Dean Klein. You remember Dean Klein? He was a street stock racer. He had an old Camaro. My dad raced an old Camaro, so they just became friends because they both had the same type of Camaro. And Dean said to my dad, he's like, when you come up here, I can loan you a set of tires, and you can run both. You can run with your street stockers club, and then you can switch tires, and you can run with the Evergreen street stocks. So my dad would go up there and run twice in one day in two different divisions. Wow. It was pretty cool. We love going up there. Me and Tim fell in love with that truck. Plus, we're very familiar with the Pennsylvania racers because we would go to the Pocono Race of Champions every year, and we'd camp and all that stuff back then. And a lot of the Pennsylvania guys would represent Mahoney and Evergreen at the Race of Champions. So we got to know all their names and everything. And me and Tim just loved Evergreen when we were kids. And as I got older, I was able to race up there, and especially in 2008. When Wall Stadium closed down, Joe was running the track then, and he invited us up there, man, and he took us in with open arms, and it was a cool deal what he did. He did a seven race deal on Sundays up there for the Wall Stadium divisions, and we all went up there and raced, and they started the Sport Mod division. That's the division I raced in. It was a lot of fun. I love Evergreen. I haven't been there in a while since I started racing dirt, but I definitely want to try to get up there with the factory stock a couple times this year. All right, so we're going to jump right into the Cup race. Real quick, they were at Richmond.
Good crowd.
Local boy Martin Truex Jr. won. It was a good race. It was surprisingly enough. Not only was it the first win for Martin with Joe Gibbs Racing, it was his first short track race win.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes from a short track background. I'm surprised it took him so long to win on a short track. But he did. He won at Richmond. It was a good, close race. Joey Logano was right on his tail. You know, who knows? A couple more laps, Joey might have had him. It was a great race.
He could have. I think Joey could have nudged him, and like if he wanted to be the bad guy, he probably could have moved him out of the way.
That's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for the bumper.
Yeah. But I don't know if there were memories of the Martinsville finish that you know he didn't want to get involved. I don't know, but Logano was right there, and. I mean, Truex had been, I don't want to say dominant, but he'd been up there all day. Kyle Busch had been dominant for a good portion of the day. He went away for the end there. Sorry.
But Aaron is 100% right. A lot of people were waiting for Joey to lay the bumper to Truex because they do have a little bit of history together. So that's what made it exciting. I mean, people were on their feet. They were waiting for it. Just Joey couldn't get to him, and Martin was able to hold him off. Very proud of Martin. He's a graduate from Wall Stadium. Good for him, man. He's on a roll, and I'm glad to see, you know, he's won his first race with his new team this year. I mean, the crowd looked good. It looked a lot better than Bristol. So it was good to see the NASCAR have a good night of racing with a good crowd and a good fan base there.
I was really surprised how many more people looked, or how much bigger the crowd looked compared to Bristol. I really was surprised. Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, good for Richmond, good for NASCAR, but I mean, it was a bit shocking.
But Josh, what the big difference was, remember last week's episode we were talking about that it was a night race. Exactly right. I don't know what the attraction the night racing is, especially so early in the year when it gets chilly at night. You know, I don't know why people like the night racing so much more.
I'm a hoodie guy. I will take slightly chilly weather over burning this. There's only, if I go outside in the sun, there's only one color I get, and it's red.
Well, and you know what it could be too? It could be the Saturday night party atmosphere. You can party because you don't have to work Sunday. Right. You don't have to go to work on Sunday, so you have Sunday off before work. You know, it might just work out better for people. It's hard for people to travel and make a race on Sunday when they have to be at work on Monday.
It gives you time to do stuff during the day too. You know, you don't have to jump out of bed in the morning to race to get to the track. Right. You know, whereas during the day you have to. The last time I went to a Cup race at Dover, we were up at 3 a.m. to try to make it to Dover.
I tell you what, you don't have to do that anymore, though. You can actually leave Jersey at like 9 a.m. down there, be there by 12, and walk right into the races. Man, it's pretty cool now.
That's an expensive nap. Every time I go to Dover, I fall asleep. It's an expensive nap.
They just did that fan zone there too. That might have something to do with it. They made that big hype about.
Oh, yeah, that's right. There was a whole renovation thing going on down there. Maybe a lot of people came to check it out. Maybe they had like a discounted ticket or something to go there. But whatever the reason is, it was great to see a great crowd.
Do we actually have numbers where there are actually more people, or are the stands at Richmond
I
smaller
did not
than Bristol?
Look into that.
There was definitely more people in Bristol. They were estimating there was only 30 to 40,000 people at Bristol, which is horrible, you know. Yeah. Josh, you have on our doc that Mark Martin was in attendance. What did you want to talk about there?
He was. I have it pulled up. It's just not my front screen. That's the problem right now. Mark Martin. He had some commentary on, more how not to fix NASCAR's attendance. There was an article. I think we shared it. If we didn't, I'm going to share it again. But with everybody complaining about how Bristol was, essentially dead, basically said, I think the racing is really good now, but I also recognize the fact that NASCAR is not the only sport that is struggling with their fan base. All sports are, and there's a reason for that. It's because young people have different interests. So it's kind of saying NASCAR's not really doing anything wrong. It's
right.
Well, Mark Martin knows that firsthand. He was all in with his kid, and his kid didn't want to go racing. He wanted paintball or something.
Yeah, he gave up a racing career to go play paintball.
Mark Martin knows firsthand.
It is fun.
All right, real quick. And that's pretty much like Cup. We kind of want to get through the NASCAR stuff quickly because we got so much local stuff.
There was one quick thing I want to get to. I saw a few memes out there of Danica 2.0 with pictures of Kyle Larson.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he wrecked. He's off to a tough start. He really is. I mean, and on top of that, his new teammate Kurt Busch is doing very, very well. So it really makes it even look worse. But I seen him spin. I mean, something had to break there, right? Or did he just lose it?
I don't know if he just like stood on the throttle by accident and like broke the rear end loose. They were saying a tire might have went down and caused him to go around, but he smacked the wall pretty darn good.
It almost looked like he went in and maybe break too much and got rear wheel hop like it happens at Martinsville sometime, and just the car turned.
But it sounded like the throttle picked up though afterwards.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you know what happens to these guys now too? They got this thing now where they feel like they're losing the car. They try to floor it to keep it from going into the wall. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, kind of like when we stand on it just to spin it right back around where we're in the same spot.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I tell you what, though, I like that car though. That McDonald's paint scheme on that car, it looked pretty cool. You know, it's good to see McDonald's, fully on a car as the primary sponsor.
Okay, yeah. When was the last time? Was that McMurray had that, or?
Yeah, I mean they do it every once in a while, and they were promoting French fries, but pretty much McDonald's French fries sells themselves, so I don't think they have to promote French fries.
Is this going to turn into which restaurant has your favorite French fries kind of an episode?
Hey, just so you know, we talk about food a lot on this show, so we're getting ready. We're going to ask you a couple food questions.
I love to eat.
Well, now we got three larger fellows here.
That's why we got to get through the NASCAR segment real quick so we can get to the food segment.
Scott's a Benedict Arnold. He's a trader. He's not fat anymore.
I know.
No longer needs a brand to put on his belt.
Real quick, what I did eat, when I tried for the first time, and I fell in love with it. It just took me about 5 hours to eat it. We stopped at Wawa when we left Grandview, and I got I usually get like a chicken quesadilla, and I just eat like the chicken out of it and stuff like that. But when I logged on the little computer screen, it had new cheeseburger quesadillas. So I'm like, I'll try that. And it was actually really good, and it was easy for me to eat because it's kind of like ground up already. But yeah, check it out. Wow, I've got a cheeseburger quesadilla now.
I don't want to waste calories chewing.
So yeah, moving to the Xfinity Series, Cole Custer won. I did watch that race.
Oh yeah.
It was on Friday night, and I was loading my race car stuff up for Saturday. It was a good race. I mean, Cole Custer was fast. I mean, he was definitely one of the fastest cars out there. Another big topic of that race was the return of Elliott Sadler at his home state track in Richmond. Elliott did very well for a part-time team. I know they're part of the Colleague Motorsports, but they finished 12th or 13th, and that's pretty much where they ran all day. They ran from like 10th to 15th, and they didn't make any mistakes, and they had a good finish. I hope it turns into more races for Elliott. I really like Elliott in that series, and I hope.
Wait, why do you think he got out? Do you think it was sponsors? Do you think he was just tired? I mean, like
it was definitely. I mean, he can spin it any way he wants, but it came down to his sponsor was leaving the sport, and he didn't have another one. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I mean, he's saying he's leaving because he wants to coach baseball with his kid, but obviously he got a ride offered to him and he took it. So I guess he can leave. He can leave for a weekend to go racing. It was good to see him back.
I could see a part-time thing. I would kind of go. I still want to do camping. I don't know how Scott does his schedule. I respect it. I don't know how he does it.
I don't know too many people that would say no to somebody else paying for them to go racing.
That's a good point too.
I don't think anybody would.
Baseball or not, I don't see anybody going, oh, no, it's not happening. Sign me up. Where we going?
And you're exactly right, Aaron. I don't think Elliott got sick of racing. I think he got sick of chasing money to go racing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I knew a lot of those sponsors he was finding himself, and he was taking care of all that. And I think after that financial company left him, I think he just had enough of chasing the dollar. And when someone offered him a ride, he jumped right on it. I think you're 100% right. I think if someone keeps offering quality rides where he doesn't have to chase the money, he'll definitely do it.
It's got to be disheartening after a while, you know.
Yeah.
You know, to have at one point in time in your career a really good Cup ride, you know, down to chasing sponsors for the Xfinity Series, it's got to suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have somebody like Ryan Preece just get in your way and screw up everything.
But you know what? But then again, it does prove that Elliott Sadler is a true racer because he went out. He did the extra work to keep racing, you know?
You should just do what Ken Schrader's doing. Just go out and run dirt tracks everywhere and have fun. The hell with it.
Yeah.
And he's got a cool ramp truck. You ever see the ramp truck Ken Schrader tows with? That thing's awesome.
Mm-hmm. I like Ken Schrader. That's a racer right there.
Oh God! Before we get into that, okay. Anyway, actually,
I have a Josh.
Was
the Ferris wheel there?
I didn't get to look. I only got to see a couple minutes of
I
highlights.
looked for it during the Xfinity race, and I did not see it.
Rick Patterson, get on that. We need to fact check the Ferris wheel.
Ted, you guys need a Ferris wheel at Evergreen. You got to do what NASCAR's doing. You got to bring a Ferris wheel into Evergreen.
I think the ground's level enough for it.
I'll pass the message along.
That would if you're coming down that big hill, looking over the Evergreen's track. If you could see a big Ferris wheel, that would look really cool, especially all lit up at night.
I'm sure it would. That would probably be pretty awesome, especially at night.
The neighbors will either
I tell you
love it
what,
or hate it.
Now that Josh brought that up, everybody knows it's been Evergreen. If you don't come in the front way, is that little wooden bridge back open, Ted? Is that back open?
Nope,
closed?
You can only come down the big hill. It's closed permanently.
Oh, really? What happened there?
There was just too much damage to it to repair it, I guess. I'm not really 100% sure on it, but they're not really doing anything with it.
That track was famous for that little wooden bridge.
Because
everybody that come up from this way, they would not know the back way. They go the front way. They're like, I can't believe I drove my truck and trailer over that little bridge. The woods were popping up. But Josh just mentioned the other way when you come down the big hill. I still say that's the best view in the world.
Yeah,
when you come down that hill on a nice sunny day, you can see the racetrack perfect from the top. You can look over the mountains and see the view. It makes my 3-hour trip worth it up there. When I turn that little corner on top of that hill and look at the track and that view, it's a great view.
Try doing it when it's icy. It's not as fun.
Ooh.
I tell you what, it is funny though when you are at the back gate of Evergreen and you're signing in and paying your money to get in. All you can smell is brakes. Every truck that comes in, every truck and trailer that pulls in, all you can do is smell their brakes, man. But they're rookies. What I do as soon as I turn that little corner, I never touch the gas and I lightly stay on the brake. But I see people like fly around that corner. Now they're flying down that hill and they're burning their brakes up.
No way, you can't do that.
Downshift.
And the other funny part
if somebody's coming up at you too.
What's that?
I said it gets pretty sketchy if you got somebody coming up at you too.
I know. When
rough over there.
Yeah, it's a tight road. You know what's funny too? At the end of the night, watching some of these haulers trying to pull back up that hill. That's another challenge, is getting out of there.
You can
Some
tell
of the guys with the stackers, it's crazy.
Yeah. Then you're smelling clutches burning. Going on.
Yeah, exactly right. They burn their brakes off coming in and burn the clutch out of their trucks leaving. All right, you want to go right to local, or you want to do the Indy F1 stuff, Josh?
Well, IndyCar, there's a quick thing. Jarrett Andretti, so keeping the Andretti name going, to make his IMS debut in the Freedom 100 that's going to be coming up. There was a neat clip, I think I shared it on our Facebook page, of the V8 supercars. Jamie Whincup lost a wheel. Basically, they never got the nut secure during the pit stop. I mean, you see it happen in F1 occasionally, or any place that NASCAR gets, you get loose wheels and whatnot, but you got 5 lug nuts or whatever. So if one's missing or it's a bit loose, it's probably not going to come flying off. With these other, divisions, IMSA and things like that, or if you have just one nut holding that wheel on, if it's loose, that wheel's probably coming off. And he actually, it was funny because the way the fender was shaped and how low they sit, the fender was actually holding the wheel kind of in place for almost a half a lap before he hit a bump and the wheel actually finally broke free and went rolling off. But yeah, so it was an interesting clip. If you get a chance, I'd definitely go watch it. For IndyCar, they were at Long Beach. Jack Harvey was basically right off the start, ended up in the flowers by the fountain. Which I've always...
We talked about this fountain last time, and it looks real pretty up close, but sometimes when they show that aerial view, I've seen like tires and stuff in that flower bed.
But, it was kind of just a typical cluster F of, open wheel start. And my question is, like, if they hit the fountain, they've been into the flowers, they didn't hit the fountain, but if they hit the fountain, who pays for it? Because that had to be like commissioned. That was like the taxpayers.
Yeah, taxpayers.
Trump will show up.
If it weren't of the road courses, they'd actually send you a bill.
Here's your paper towels.
I tell you what, Long Beach is one of the very traditional, popular IndyCar races, and I do love that race weekend for the IndyCars. But I kind of boycotted it this year because they didn't do the celebrity race.
Thank you.
We didn't get to see Jason Priestley race.
Hey, I know where there's 2 of those cars for sale.
What's that? Oh, really?
Yeah, there's Johnston's Toyota up in New York has 2 of those Celicas.
Yeah,
for
Toyota
sale.
Celica's.
I want them.
Were they from the pros or from the celebrities?
They ran the same car. It was
No,
kind of
it's the same. It's the same model, but like didn't the celebrities always had the red cars and the pros had like the silver cars or whatever it was?
Don't know. This car was.
I want the one that Carlton from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. If he has that one, I'll buy that one.
Yeah, I watched a few minutes of highlights and stuff from that. Just trying to get caught up. For Formula One, I did bring up. Hang on, let's see. I'm trying to.
Once again, Indy. Yeah, I did check the Indy stuff, and my boy Marco Andretti finished 13th, so we didn't do much there.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, his teammate won, right? That was an Andretti Motorsports car that won, right?
Custer. No, I'm sorry. Not, gee, I'm already off.
Like Rossi or something like that. What's his name?
Hang on. I didn't even get to the thing. I'm in stats. Oh my god, I'm terrible. I wasn't ready.
You're already doing better than me. That's a series I stopped watching years ago.
Indy, I tell you, Indy, you should start watching it again. Indy's kind of on an upswing. You know, the racing is really good on Indy now, and they're getting good crowds.
I watched Watkins Glen last year. It wasn't bad.
I want to drive that track. So, yeah, Alexander Rossi won, followed by Joseph Newgarden, then Scott Dixon, who was right up front from the beginning. Graham Rahal in fourth. That was a good run for him. I forget which team it was. They lost all telemetry on their pit stand. Their in their stall. So the car was out there, seemed to be running fine or whatever. Like, right now you're fine, but we have no telemetry, so we're not going to be able to tell you anything. And for them, that's like situation critical. Whereas, that the one advantage to something like NASCAR is the driver has to tell you what he feels, and you have to try to make changes based off of that, which is kind of I think it's a nice thing. I mean, I think it's cool to get all that telemetry, but
I don't think all these new kids would know how to do that.
Yeah.
Car's making a funny noise. What do I do?
Drive it. Colton Herta, who actually had just who had been doing really well, he finished dead last. And let's see here. So Formula One, I did not get to watch. Lewis Hamilton got the win over Bottas. Tim, you shared with us a video of Mercedes doing back-to-back pit stops or roll.
Yeah, it was like a double pit. How cool was that?
Yeah, that was poetry in motion, if anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the camera angle screwed me. I was watching it before with Aaron here, and I was like, "Where did the other tires come from? Where did the second set of tires?" Because they weren't.
They said they had them double stacked. Can you explain to our listeners, Josh, exactly what you're talking about and what happened?
So they had Hamilton come in and pit. Now with Formula One, each car doesn't have its own pit stall like you would in NASCAR. So the team cars share the same pit stall. And so Hamilton came in, and they did his 2 or 3 second tire change or whatever. And while they were doing his and fuel, while they're no fuel.
No fuel.
No fuel.
They don't do fuel anymore again.
They haven't gone back to fuel.
I've been so confused on Formula One because they keep bouncing back
I
know.
Well, they had that thing where they had the tires had to last the whole race unless it was a puncture. Anyway, so. They're doing his tires while Bottas
is on his way in.
Yeah, is coming in. And they nailed it perfectly that Hamilton went out and Bottas didn't have to slow down any more than he
normally
did for the pit speed.
And what we want the listeners to picture is the crew guys never left their positions. One car left, the other car pulled right in where the guys were standing, and they just switched the tires again. It was really cool. Check it out. My brother's going to post it on our Facebook page. It's one of the coolest pit stops I ever seen, and I think we're going to see more of it. Instead of them bringing 4 tires out to be ready, they bought 8 tires out. It was awesome. It was definitely cool.
Now, the thing is, I don't know if they do anything really with air pressures and, to adjust handling. To make sure that you have the right tires on the right car.
Well, I'm sure they do. If you watch them, they actually as the car was coming in, they still had them in the heater blankets and everything.
Yeah, they had them all wrapped up.
Oh my!
Those tires look fake, don't they? They look fake.
so light,
like big plastic bottle tires.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They had that like sheen to them, right?
Yeah.
That was.
But
really...
if you notice, if the sheen goes away as they're going on the car. As they come out of the heater and they start cooling, the sheen starts to go away because by the time they went on Hamilton's car, by the time he left, it looked like he was on scuffs and it looked like Bottas was getting brand new.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That was really interesting. So, maybe they're soaking the tires while they're cooking them or something. I don't know.
I'm sure it has something to do with the heater blankets. I don't think they're allowed to soak them. They're soft enough as it is.
Yeah, right.
But let's see. Verstappen in fourth. That was Vettel in third. So I mean, but it was an all Mercedes. Top two. Vettel made the podium at least. Raikkonen to ninth. Running for Alfa Romeo. Grosjean in 11th, just out of the points. Darn. Sorry, I was really pulling for Haas. Anyway.
Have you guys seen the Netflix has actually came out with Formula One Drive to Survive? I don't know if you've seen it or not yet, but it's pretty awesome.
I think I saw a preview for that. I haven't watched it yet. I saw like an advertisement for
it. I saw Netflix too, but they want like $14 for it, so I didn't get it.
Scott's like, that's tire money.
Yeah. It was a Formula One driver or something, and it was his story. It was Hurley Haywood, and it was his story about him being a gay race car driver. I never knew Hurley Haywood was gay. And I still don't know because I didn't want to spend the $14 to watch the movie. When it comes down to $4, I might find out if he was really good or not. So. But yeah, I mean, there is a few racing shows on Netflix, and definitely check them out.
Formula One, that was a good one.
There was one about Hinchcliffe and going through his injury when the suspension part went through his leg at Indy. And his recovery and stuff like that, which is really interesting. And honestly, following the recovery of his name is my mind is blank right now. Oh my God, Wickens.
Ted, what was the one you were talking about? The show.
It's actually on Netflix. They just released it this year. It's called Formula One Drive to Survive. Follows Daniel, I'm going to say Ricardo. Yep. And then, they kind of take a look at the entire season about, Team McLaren, Mercedes, all that stuff there. The ups and downs of the season, how qualifying is. And it was actually really good. It's a 10 episode season. And I really got into it, learned a bunch about Formula One, and it actually was really cool. So I highly recommend it.
I'm gonna check that out.
Isn't McLaren putting together the thing for Alonso to run the 500, the Indy 500?
I think so.
Will the engine just quit on it? Because that seems to be a McLaren theme.
Yeah.
The past couple
remember
of
they
years.
were blaming Honda, and now what are they running now? Peugeots, and they're still blowing up.
They're blaming back and forth. They're saying, "Well, yeah, we gave you the engine, but you're tuning it wrong."
Right?
And stuff. Yeah, there's back and forth. Just
it's the window licker behind the computer.
All right, so you ready to move on?
On which team?
McLaren.
Before we get off the F1, Josh, did you watch that video I posted? Of the closed down F1 shop, the abandoned F1 shop?
I wanted to. I didn't get a chance to yet. I love exploring abandoned buildings, and I really need to watch that. What shop was that, Tim?
I wanted to know if you knew the backstory on it, because it was. See if I can find it real quick. It was a beautiful race shop. Like it even had a
probably Caterham or something.
It had a studio in it with like where they took their own pictures, or it was a beautiful place. It had a moat around it. So
oh my God, I want a moat around my garage. I'm gonna have to go dig that.
Do you have enough property for that, Scott? I mean,
no, but
your garage is.
That's all. I'll put a little moat around my garage.
Call Harvey, he'll help you.
Yeah. I know a landscaper.
Paul has enough trouble cutting my yard. I don't see how much stuff he breaks on me this year.
I did share getting to local stuff. Little Wall. There's a video of Hartwig. I think Mike from Mike's Performance posted it and called him Dr. Hartwig because he's calling for tools and the parts. They have the quarter midget up on its side, and he's repairing. Like I think the hub was busted. Or whatever. He had to get a new keyway, and they were holding it in with a zip tie. And
Yeah, that's when I got a little nervous about Paul working on that car. Is when he asked for a zip tie to hold the keyway, and I'm like, we might be in trouble here.
Look, if it got the kid back out, I mean, considering they only had 3-4 laps to put it together.
Yeah, 4 laps.
Yeah. It's impressive that but he's calling for the tools that he needs. He knows what he's trying to get done, and you got to give the guy some credit.
Oh,
for,
yeah, absolutely.
You know,
and the thing about Paul is he'll do that for any one of the kids out there, too, not just his own. You know, I've seen him do it. He'll do it for any one of the kids out there.
Look, I don't want to be seen in public with him, but he is a good guy.
Yeah, but I did get a little nervous because the two things he asked for was a hammer, a screwdriver, and a zip tie. I'm like, oh boy, he's fixing it the Paul Hartwig style, but he got it done and got the kid back out on the track.
On, you've driven sketchy.
The only thing he was missing was duct tape. You should have asked for some duct tape too.
Wait. And you were just racing with a guy that rolled his car 7 times.
Did you like that picture, Josh?
The whole, you know, like when the frame just starts doing that, leaning. The whole car
on the fly camber adjustment should be outlawed.
Well, it wasn't outlaw stock.
To be fair with that guy, he did tell me he straightened it the best he could with a backhoe. We'll talk about that a little bit when we get to the
Josh, I did find that info on that if you still want to know what it's about.
Go ahead. Talk about it, Tim.
Yeah, please.
It was the Caterham F1 team. Was a Malaysian, later British-owned Formula One team based in the United Kingdom.
That's almost
where it
all
was.
the teams.
Yeah,
most of them are all based near Silverstone.
It's like Charlotte.
It is.
They go in this one.
Charlotte's like that now too. There's plenty of abandoned race shops down by Charlotte too.
Well, yeah,
they go into this one room.
Sorry, I was just going to say Sam spits on Alan Kowicki's shop.
I think someone's in that shop now, though.
All right, go ahead, Tim. I'm sorry.
I was going to say they go into this one room, and it's filled with carbon fiber molds. What I mean, from the floor to the ceiling, there's got to be millions of dollars worth of research just, laying on the ground. It's useless now. That's not worth it.
That was one of the places that closed up overnight, and a lot of their stuff went to auction, and I don't think most of it sold. Like, a couple of the cars sold.
Well, how many years ago was this?
I don't remember. It's within the last 7 years.
7? Yeah, but I mean, honestly, if you're 1 year behind on your molds, it's...
Yeah. Yeah. They weren't even a top team to begin with. They were always, they were always fighting.
But that could be something...
It's the prime example of how much money is wasted in motorsports.
Oh yeah.
So give our podcast money.
Yeah.
All right, we're moving on to the local segment. Someone's got to keep this show rolling here, so I got to push on here. The first thing you have written down, I haven't heard nothing about this, Josh. You said Priest is committed to the Madhouse. What's going on there?
Yeah, he went crazy. He's committed to the Madhouse. No, it's a joke.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, there was a picture or some post somewhere on Facebook of the car up on jack stands getting it ready, and he's gonna go run Bowman Gray.
Mount the bulldozer.
Yeah, but not all the time, right? He's just running the 200 or something like that.
Yeah. Supposedly he's got 4 races he can do. Four altogether. One's Bowman Gray. I believe one's Stafford. One of the Stafford races. I think one is Turkey Derby, and then there's one other one that I can't remember what it was.
Maybe it's King of the Green. Ted can get him to the King of the Green.
I've tried for a number of years, just never worked out.
All right, moving on the.
Yeah, I thought it was a funny headline. That's all. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I think it's great that he's going there. We'll keep an eye on him, see how he does. He'll probably run really good there, so we'll check that out.
Oh, if he puts a big
on the Wall
plow
Stadium,
blade on the front.
I'm pretty sure all of us were at Wall Stadium except Aaron, right? Aaron, you're out in Pittsburgh racing?
Yeah, I was out racing in Pittsburgh.
Ah, what a shame.
Oh, darn. Choice.
So, yeah, we're going to talk about Wall Stadium.
Race cars.
Yeah. We're going to talk about Wall Stadium real quick. It was great that Ted came down from Evergreen. He left Evergreen during they were having as my cat jumps on the computer.
So many
Evergreen was
comments.
having a practice. Ted was able to leave Evergreen's practice around 1:30, and he headed down to the Jersey Shore to watch them racing at Wall Stadium. Ted, was this your first trip down to Wall Stadium?
No, it was my first trip in probably about 7 or 8 years, though.
Oh,
Wow.
slacker.
God forbid
I
he
wanted
works.
to get down there. I just never had anybody that was willing to, drive down there with me. And, finally got somebody that, we want to check a couple tracks off our bucket list this year. So we'll be doing a little bit more traveling this year and going to a couple of different races. I was at Lincoln Speedway earlier this year. And then, we decided to jump over to Wall. And it was certainly an eventful trip down. And it was some really good racing Saturday night.
As a guy that hasn't been there in about 7 or 8 years, and you do go to a lot of racetracks in Pennsylvania, and you've been working at Evergreen for a long time. What was your first impression when you walked in the Wall Stadium?
Just the walking up to the set of bleachers and feeling the rumble underneath your feet. It kind of just gives you those goosebumps, and then you hear Earl on the PA system, and it's just like, man, it's no matter what track you go to, it's like, man, you kind of feel like you're at home no matter what kind of asphalt track you're at. So, everywhere you go, I saw a bunch of people that knew who I was, and, we were able to talk to everybody. And, it was certainly a really, really good time. A lot of people asking about Evergreen. So, no matter where you go, you're always recognized and always asked questions. So got to be prepared for that.
Yeah, it was definitely cool. I saw on your Facebook that you were down there. I'm like, God, that's great. Ted came down to watch this race, and
Earl Krause even
awesome
mentioned it over the PA.
Oh wow, you're famous, Ted. You didn't get mentioned over the PA system.
Yeah, I actually got to go up in the announcers tower during some of the practices in between like 3:30 and 4, and talked to Earl for a little while, and he kind of wrote our names down, who everybody was there, and some information about our opening day. So. They had a lot of good things to say about Evergreen. Earl had a lot of questions, and to finally, meet the person, the voice of Wall, and somebody you look up to it as an announcer, because you look up to all the announcers, and to be able to finally meet him and shake his hand and talk to him about racing, it's just, that knowledge that he gives out, just, it'll make me a better announcer for it.
Earl's like one of the smartest announcers I've ever met. I mean, he knows more about my racing career than I know. I mean, the guy he's like you said, he's a wealth of knowledge. He's incredible. Very smart man. He's a professional racer because he not only does he announce at racetracks on the weekend, he also announces at the big track at Pocono too during the Cup weekends. Yeah. I think he does it with Dino
and IndyCar.
And IndyCar. I mean, plus his full-time job is he works for the Aerial Race News. He's been there forever. So, I mean, he's a professional racer. He's in the business as a profession. He's a great guy, man.
He's awesome.
And as we're talking about announcers, how cool is it to see Jeff Gravatt at the racetrack and looking good and healthy? Ted, I don't know if you know, but he had a super health scare. He had a heart attack right at the weekend of Turkey Derby, and he spent 81 days in the hospital. So he's finally out of the hospital and back at the racetrack. So we were so happy to have Jeff back. Jeff actually came in my pits and sat on my trailer for about good 15, 20 minutes, and it was great to talk to him.
He's looking pretty good too.
He's, you know what? He looks a little skinny to me, and I said, "Well, you're getting your strength back." He's like, "I tell you what." He's like, "I'm almost 100%." He's like, "I'm only 10 pounds under where I was." He said, "So I'm kind of happy where I'm at." I mean, he looks great.
Right. Yeah, and I knew Jeff got sick because I'm obviously friends with him on Facebook, and I knew he's been at Wall, and you kind of were listening and you were watching, and just kind of praying for him, and it to be able to. The amount of respect that the drivers at Wall Stadium have for Jeff was just absolutely incredible, because every single person that graced Victory Lane Saturday night was just didn't even care about they cared about being in Victory Lane, but they cared about being in Victory Lane with Jeff, and just the amount of respect that they all showed Jeff. It's kind of just, it's like, man, I can only hope I get half that much respect that Jeff has as an announcer. It was certainly an awesome, awesome experience to be able to see that and witness that.
Ted, who are the other two? I think it was three of you there. I saw two other guys with you up in the bleachers when we talked for a few minutes there. Who were they? Just so we can, everybody can know.
Yeah, it was our chief starter, Chris Walk, who actually had never been to Wall Stadium before, and absolutely loved it. So it was a good time for him as well. And our backgate security guy, Bob Stroll, who had been there. I think he said he was back there in the late 70s, early 80s, since he had been there. So we all had a really, really good time.
Stroll, that's a pretty popular racing name up that way. Is that any relation to Lou Stroll?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure. I do know it's a popular name up this way, but I don't know if there's any relation there.
Okay.
So Ted, before we get into your opinions and your thoughts on the racing of the evening, I heard you had a pretty interesting ride to the track. You want to tell us about that real quick?
Yeah, it was. I don't know if you want to call it interesting, but it was, fairly scary. I don't know if we were on 95 or 195, but we were actually traveling up, and we left about 1:30, and traffic was real light for the most part. And I'm, driving, and all of a sudden I see 3-4 cars in front of me slam on the brakes and turn hard right, and I'm like, what the hell? Well, next thing I know, I see a tire literally bouncing up over my truck, and I literally almost crap myself. It was pretty scary.
That's a pucker ride.
And the next half hour of the ride was complete dead silence because we were all pretty much in shock, and I just kind of
trying to break the suction on the seat.
I'm not an extremely religious man, but I do believe in God, and I do believe in blessings and opportunities. And, that 30 minutes, I just kind of sat there and, said to myself, thank you, Jesus, for not letting that, because that thing was no more than 4 or 5 feet above my truck.
Do you know where the tire came from? Did it come from the westbound lanes as you were going east?
No idea. There was nobody stopped and pulled over in the lanes that we were in. I didn't really see anything in the opposing traffic lanes. No clue where it came from, and
Jesus,
I just
take the wheel.
Yeah, Jesus took the wrong wheel.
I just prayed. I was thankful that it didn't hit us or anybody in front of us, and I don't know what happened after that, but very thankful.
He doesn't know what happened to the people behind him, but he was clear to keep going. That's for sure.
Well, you're doing 75, 80, going with the flow of traffic, and you see and it was I want to say it was a compact rim and tire. It wasn't a tractor trailer tire or a truck tire.
What could
you would have been in a compact truck.
Ted, you know what it might have been? And I don't know if you would have noticed this, but I drove tractor trailer for many, many years before I started the towing business. I'm a professional CDL driver, and I've been driving truck all my life. Even though I own my own towing business, I still drive truck every day of my life. If it was a smaller tire, like a 14-inch tire or a 15-inch tire, a lot of times they come off of they fall off when they're moving like a mobile home, like a trailer house. You know what I'm saying? You ever see them move trailer houses down the road and they have like 5 other small wheels underneath them? They come off all the time. I see them on the side of the road. I've seen them going down like the Deegan Expressway. I had the same experience. I seen one rolling down the median too. And then, I got down the road further. There was a guy moving a mobile home missing a wheel. They come off. They got these weird studs with these little blocks that hold the rims on it.
And that thing was like bouncing and moving, and it was scary for sure. But just glad that we we're at the right spot, right time, and it just cleared over us. And because going that fast and having something like that come down on the truck, it would have completely demolished the truck or damn near killed somebody.
Because I drive 10, 12 hours a day, I get like, it's weird when something like that does happen and you have a close call. Next thing you know, you're driving like 35 miles an hour. Right. Next hour. It takes a while to recover from something like that.
All the way over to the slow lane, just sitting there driving like 50 miles an hour instead of 80. Like, all right, I got to take a breath.
Yep, knuckles are
weak. On the way home, you're probably doing 80 like nothing happened, now you're back to normal.
And I actually drove all the way up, and then Chris drove all the way back. So, we were booking, and, we got out of there. I think we were out of there by 10? They were done by 10:30, 11, something like that.
That's a pretty late.
So, and we actually got back to Allentown by by 12:30, quarter of 1. So there was hardly any traffic, and we were moving. So it only took us about an hour, 45 minutes to get back.
Well, I think I'm going to have to offer my welding services and weld a halo on his truck just in case.
Hey, Ted, the most important question about your experience at Wall Stadium, did you get to the concession stand?
I did.
And what did you have?
When we first got there, I had a hot dog and some fries. That was real good. And then all three of us, towards the end of the night, we had funnel cake.
Okay.
Yeah, we have the best funnel cake.
Funnel cake is
John and
pretty
Debbie O, they've been selling funnel cakes since me and Tim were little kids there, and they had like the best funnel cake.
While we're on the concession stand, the special was buffalo chicken egg rolls.
I was tempted, but I wasn't sure if I was going to be in the bathroom or not after that.
Yeah, and then
I don't eat chicken,
Johnny,
so that's safe with you guys. You can have it.
Johnny and Debbie O had $7 meatball sandwiches, they were pretty good. I heard.
I want to brag on my eating a little bit at the track Saturday night. I usually don't eat at the racetrack Saturday night, but I tell you what, for some reason I was super hungry and we were running last. So I'm like, I better go eat a little something. So I did go up to the concession stand, and the girls that work in the concession stands kind of laughed and made fun of me. I ordered the chicken fingers kids meal. 2 chicken fingers, French fries, and a juice box.
That's a big meal for you at this point.
For $5, I did pretty good, and it was funny too because I ordered it, and the one girl that served me I know, and she knows I've been through the surgery and all that stuff, and I can't eat much, and she understood why I was ordering it, and then the girl in the back that made it, she's like walking around on the grandstand side looking for the kid to give the chicken, the kid's meal to. And she's like, no, see that 6'3" guy over there? It's his. Or whatever. I said, yeah, where's my juice box?
I want my
That
juice
was my
box.
dining experience at the racetrack.
It
was good though.
Was it
It was
apple
good. I ate one
juice or
I know I got the orange juice. Yep, I got the orange juice. And I ate 1 chicken finger and a couple French fries, and Nancy finished it for me. So we did good for $5. All right, we'll talk about a little bit of racing. I mean, Ted, you did say you got there around 10:30. The show was a little slower than normal. First of all, we had all our divisions there on one night. We usually don't have all 6 divisions, but since it was open tonight, we had all 6 divisions there.
The only thing we were missing was the TQs.
Yeah, but they're not a regular division.
Correct.
Yeah, we had all 6 of our regular divisions there, and we had great car counts in all the divisions. I mean, our late model struggle. I mean, Ted, we don't know what we got to do to get our late model division going. I don't know how your car counts are up at Evergreen in the late model division, but we're really struggling for late models. So we apologize for that small car count.
It's late models all around struggle everywhere you go. They're other than down south, they really struggle. Up here, New York. So it's a struggle anywhere you go. But there's really nothing you can do for it, unfortunately, because you spend just as much on a late model as you do a modified.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And talking about the modified division, man, what a turnout they had! We had 23 modifieds, and last year we were down to like 10 or 11 at some of our races, Ted. Mm-hmm. And for us to start the season off with 23 modifieds there, that was a great showing of the modifieds.
It was a good race too.
Oh, was it? I didn't get to watch most of it. I was too busy eating 1 chicken finger in the trailer.
I thoroughly enjoyed, all the racing action that was there. The only thing I could say that I wasn't a huge fan of was having to sit through time trials, but I understand the process of that. But other than having to sit through time trials, I thought the racing was very, very good. There's obviously early in the season there's not a lot of rubber down on the track, so. Guys were kind of using the front bumper a little bit, but that's short track racing. And, it certainly was an enjoyable night. And we had a lot of fun, and, we were sitting there jumping and carrying on and just going oohing and ahhing as people are making passes and beating on each other a little bit. So it was certainly a good time.
But just to explain what Ted's talking about, we don't normally use time trials as a qualifying procedure at Wall Stadium, but for the first 3 weeks we do, because this way we establish our handicap system. We do a pill draw, and that's your lineup for your time trials. So we go out, all the divisions went out in time trials, and then they did a redraw for the top 10 in the factory stock division. So we had a redraw for positions for the top 10. But after the third
guess
week,
you started 10th.
I started ninth.
Ninth, okay.
Yeah, I started ninth. You know what? I did draw 10th though, because Nick Kilmer is also a listener of the RPM podcast. He's a loyal listener. Nick is a rookie, and he had a great time trial. He timed second fastest. Man, how great was that? And unfortunately, because he is a rookie, he had to start in the back, so that left 9 of the top 10. So I did draw 10th, but when he got set to the back, moved to the back of the pack because he's a rookie, he's got to start in the back for 3 weeks. That moved me to 9th. So but I didn't time that great anyway. I think I timed 6th or 7th fastest. So I did lose a few positions in the draw, but whatever. But yeah, after the third week, we'll be back to heat races and handicap system.
Well, I will.
Yeah, I definitely think we're. Sorry, Josh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, Scott mentioned, there being very few late models. There were 4 cars that finished the race. A couple got caught up. Somebody's throttle stuck, and they ended up in the wall, and it was kind of a mess.
And that was another delay we had.
There's a red flag for that. Yeah.
Yeah, the fence did get damaged in that hard wreck, and that was Mike Shea. Mike Shea hasn't raced in many years. Mike Shea used to race the street stocks back in the 90s with me, and his father's Ray Shea. Ted, you probably know Ray Shea. He's the president of the Garden State Vintage Club. Mike Shea is his son, and that was he just bought a Port City late model off of Ken Matlack, and he was excited to be back racing after probably like a 10-year layoff, 10 or 15-year layoff, and unfortunately, it ended with a stuck throttle, and that car looked pretty damaged, pretty good. I was very happy to see that Mike was okay. It did stall the show out a little bit on us and this hasn't happened to us for a while. Our fence has been pretty sturdy lately since the repairs at the beginning of last year, but the guardrail did get damaged, and we had to bring the track welder out to repair the wall. They did do it fairly quick, but it was still a little.
That was one of the quicker repairs. But I mean, when you put a 3,000-pound car at full throttle into a guardrail, I mean, it's hard to not damage it. It was good to see Greg Miranda back out there as well. The Rooster Tillett was there, and then Shannon Monjo just kind of. He had half a lap on the whole field. Yeah, that was he dominated that. My complaint. And we'll get Ted's opinion on this, was the sportsmen. They need to be run last. They need to be the last division of the night. Because, I mean, between the wrecks and breaking stuff and putting fluid down on the track, I mean, we had a lengthy time period. Well, out of the blower trucks, we had 2 blowers come out to try to blow because the cars weren't getting it cleared off the track. I think the Ford Ranger won. And for the sportsman race itself, I think my prediction was correct. The pace truck had the most laps.
Probably.
So
I just want to say we did have a bad wreck in the sportsman division. The 15 sportsman car hit the turn 3 guardrail pretty much straight on.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very, very hard hit, but he was fine. I was nervous for a while because it did take him a while to get out of the car, and the ambulance did have to rush to the scene. But I follow his daughter Hannah on Facebook, and Hannah put on Facebook that the reason why it took her father so long to get out of the car was he just had the wind knocked out of him, which is understandable because, I mean, that car stuck in that fence like a lawn dart,
Yeah.
So I Hannah was, noticeably upset in the pits, and I didn't want to approach her in the pits to ask her how her father was. So I kind of just watched her Facebook page that night and the next day, and she said that the reason why it took him so long to get out of the car is he was just got the breath knocked out of him. I did walk by. I did offer help trying to, if they needed anything to help to get the car loaded up or if they, anything like that. And the car was bent pretty bad, but they were able to get it in the trailer. So unfortunately, he started the season off bad. And the worst part about it, his car looked beautiful. The car was completely done for this year. That's the sad part when you see somebody wreck their cars that bad at the very first race of the year because it's all brand new stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like towards the end of the year, the car's pretty beat up anyway, but man, that car looked
Right.
beautiful when he rolled it out of the trailer Saturday, and for it to get wrecked that bad. Within the first couple of laps of their first feature was very disappointing for them. And I know Hannah and her father love racing, and I hope they come back racing.
Well, I know
That
she'll
was just a
definitely
great
be there.
race to begin with. I mean, you had that one yellow where they put half the field to the back.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm sitting at my trailer, and I listened to it on the PA system, and I kept hearing them putting drivers to the back. And I looked at Nancy. I said, I'm not using my bumper at all tonight because they're sending everybody to the back, man.
I'll get to that with Jimmy. And then I felt bad for Charlie DiTomaso. His two kids kind of like wrecked each other on going down the back stretch.
I've seen that happen before too, man.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Like I said, the sportsman they put oil down or whatever, and that took quite a while. It was a lengthy caution. Otherwise, I think that the night could have gone pretty quick. The factory stocks, which quickly we'll do the four cylinders.
Alonso. Who won the sportsman? Cisco, right?
Kyle Cisco.
Yes, Kyle Cisco, past guest.
You know what? I think Kyle's going to have a great year. I think he's just. I don't know how to put it, but he's such a good driver, and I think he's pretty much the best driver in that division right now. And he's just grown up in a racing family. He's raced quarter midgets. I think he's experienced. Even though he's a young guy, he's very experienced. His father, Brian Cisco, is very knowledgeable in building race cars, fabricating race cars, and also setting them up. They also have Rich Holgren helping on that car. Rich has been around racing forever. He's a very organized guy. He knows how to, set a trailer up and a pit up and have spare parts and, all that stuff. That team's going to be someone to reckon with in that division this year. And he almost won the championship last year, and he missed a week. He had a wedding or something to go to. I haven't really talked to Kyle yet, but hopefully he's planning on running the whole season. I think he can win the championship if things go well for him.
Hopefully he's right on all the RSVPs.
Yeah. And what Kyle's a good kid. Like, he hangs out over Jimmy's a lot. He asks questions. He's willing to learn. He's polite. He's not one of those kids that just show up at a track and say, "Daddy, why is my race car not ready?" He seems
and
like
Ted, you're like this too. I mean, Kyle's a Dallas Cowboys fan, so how can you go wrong there?
Well,
Cisco's a huge Cowboys fans, and we all know Ted's a huge Eagles fan. So
yeah,
nobody's perfect.
Maybe Kyle Cisco won't win the championship this year because he's a Cowboys fan.
I was at the four cylinders. Alonso Morales came back. It was good to see him again.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that because Alonso did leave the four-cylinder division, and he was racing a crate modified over at New Egypt.
I didn't follow as much when he went to dirt.
I think
I'm
he left.
a bad person.
I think he left us to go dirt racing for a while. I didn't even know he still had that car. I walked in the pits and I seen that car there. I'm like, man, I haven't seen that car in like 2 years. Yeah. And he was there racing, so it was good to see Alonso back.
It was. He had a nice graphic on the hood dedicated to his mother, who passed away recently. I think she was 43 years old.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
she was a nice lady too, and I tell you what, her and Alonso were inseparable. I mean, she was there all the time at the racetrack with him. They were a very close family. I didn't even know she was sick. And what, she have cancer, Josh?
I don't know. I
don't know.
Don't know.
Yeah, they were saying over the PA that she had cancer. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a shame. She was a pretty lady, nice lady. She was always at the racetrack, always supportive of her son's racing. And when I heard she passed away, I said, man, Alonso's got to be crushed, man. That's a tough thing to deal with. Mm-hmm. I mean, whenever you lose a parent, it's a tough thing to deal with. And if she was that young, that's a sad story. But I'm glad to see that he was racing in her honor and that he was at the track,
And on a positive note, he finished third.
Well, that's good.
First night back, finishing third in a division you haven't raced in a while. I mean, the kid's got talent. He's got a good car. I mean, give him some credit. Loesch took the win. It was a close battle. You want to talk about that, Truex winning with Logano on his bumper. Neil Rutt, the third, was on Loesch's bumper.
Yeah, I was watching the race monitor from Pittsburgh because I helped.
He gave him a shot on the last lap. He tried.
Yeah,
yeah, he did.
But it was an exciting race. It was good. And the four cylinders, there were cars all over the place. I didn't know what to watch because they were just everywhere. There was battles happening.
We gotta give Ronnie Mullen a shout out. He was really pedaling that car.
Yeah,
he was driving for all it was worth, and you see him that one time, Josh? He came out of turn 2, and it almost went in the fence where everybody hits it, where where everybody gets, and he saved it. I'm like, woo! All right, Ronnie. I'm thinking to myself, slow down a little bit, Ronnie Mullen. And like 2 laps later, he was like sideways on the front straightaway. He was driving that car for all it was worth.
I found that.
I also want to mention. I think his name's Chuck McDonald. He comes down from Connecticut to race with us at Wall Stadium, and I think that's really cool. I like traveling. I like guys that are willing to drive 3-4 hours to go racing, and he's been coming down quite a bit. He races up by a Waterford Speed Bowl, and he's been coming down quite a bit to race at Wall Stadium. So I'm glad to see him coming down to race with us.
Yeah, and he ended up 5th too. So.
Oh, did he really? I think he's even been out to Evergreen a couple times too, right, Ted?
Yeah, he's been there a couple times.
Quick shout out to Randy Hart. Finished 4th.
Oh,
cool.
Good
spot for him. Yeah, he's had some ups and downs. So yeah,
he's had a lot of downs in this sport.
He's had a lot of downs.
It's good to you know what? And when you start off the season good, a guy like Randy, hopefully that carries over and he wants to keep racing for a while. But didn't he retire last year? Why was he even there? Or was he going to retire and it rained out or something like that?
Don't we all retire at some point?
Yeah. Everybody retires after Turkey, though. And then they come out of retirement on opening night, So
it's just the way it
we got to
works.
call Randy out on that. I remember him retiring last year, and all of a sudden now he's at the racetrack again. So we'll have to talk to him about his short retirement and what happened there.
Sounds like
I guess he's the Elliott Sadler of the 4-cylinder division.
Let's see. What else? Did I miss anything? Oh,
let's talk about the modifieds.
Yes,
I mean, we have the modified winning spotter with us today, Tim Riggleman. Tim was the spotter for Jimmy Blewett in the beautiful red, white, and blue 76. How cool did that car look, Ted?
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big family tradition race car down this way. I'm sure you're aware of that, even though you're from out in Pennsylvania, Evergreen area. But that's as famous as like the Hirschman 60. You're familiar with the Hirschmans and the number 60, the Blewetts with the red, white, and blue number 76. Jimmy just went back to that paint scheme. He's been running the white 19. And now he switched back to his family colors, and that car was beautiful, all chromed out, white interior, white frame.
Well, that's the family car, isn't it? Like, he's been driving for other people for the last few years. Isn't that the family car?
Yeah, I mean, he's been driving for Ormsby, and he's been driving for Scott Branning and all that. But it's always been housed at Jimmy's house, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, he's back to running Grandpa's Troyer cars. I didn't get to see much of the race. I know Chris Andretto was running very well. And that's the former Jimmy Blewett car that Chris Andretto drives, the Spafco that Jimmy had. The Andretto's bought Jimmy Spafco stuff. He was running 3rd for a while, and then he got, I think Ricky Collins got into him a little bit, and Chris spun coming out of 3, and that caused a pretty good
he actually came off of 4 and blew a right rear. You can see the right rear just blow.
Oh, really? Okay, because I seen Ricky going into 3, and Ricky got underneath him, and then I seen Chris spin coming out, but he had a tire come off.
Yeah, they made a little contact going into 3, but then coming off of 4, you just see the car just kind of snap around, and I'm looking, and the right rear tire was down, so I don't know if that was from something early or what, but you could see the right rear tire just come right off.
And some of the good cars that were behind him got collected in that. I think Truex was one of them. Unfortunately for Tyler Truex, his opening night came to an early end. Like I said, it was a great turnout of modifieds, 23 modifieds. Hopefully we can keep those car numbers up all year.
Scott, the one thing I want to talk about, because the modified race I thought was pretty good. It maybe not the best I've ever seen, but
wow, for Josh to say
I
that,
was just going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Josh is giving praise to the modifieds.
Obviously, he's not a fan of the Sportsman, and he doesn't really care for modifieds either. For him to even say it was a decent race, it must have been a really good race.
The Sportsman is justified.
Well, I'm curious, Josh. Why do you say that? Why was it good?
Well, regardless of your feelings, of anyone's feelings towards Jimmy Blewett, he made the pass on Derek Hopkinson for the lead on the outside.
Oh wow!
Yeah, you don't see that a lot anymore.
Because Derek's fast. Derek's a fast car.
Derek's very fast, and Jimmy come on. I've spotted for Jimmy a lot that wall. So, and when he comes rolling down the hill, and he's like, "Timmy, we got to worry about this guy. I'm like, Jimmy, we haven't even started yet. Don't you're worried about it. Calm down." He came down the hill Saturday. He didn't say a word, so I knew when he
wasn't
doesn't
worried
say
about anybody.
Yeah, he wasn't worried. He had the car. He knew he had the car. And I told him, we'll get what we can on the start here, and then we'll go from there. And the race started, and he tried to pass that Hopkinson kid on the bottom. The kid ran him down in the dirt a little bit. Jimmy just got off the gas, got the car up on the top of the groove, and just went right by him and never touched him. So
yeah, you don't see that very often.
Not
and,
anymore.
And it was good. Now Hopkinson seemed to stay with him, but I was
I was getting to that. Jimmy's like, keep me a car length. I want a car length in the straightaway and half in the corner. So that's all I was doing was telling him, one straightaway, half in the corner. Every 3 or 4 laps, I would tell him that. And then with 5 laps to go, he just got on the gas and drove away from it.
I was going to say, he was kind of just dictating the pace of that race and just kind of keeping control of it and then keeping the car in reserve until he needed it to.
And that's a signature Blewett move. That's a family tradition. John Blewett III used to do it. My brother used to spot for John Blewett III, and I would spot for Jimmy. And we were at one race. It was like a Garden State Classic or something where John wrecked out of the race early. So he grabbed the headset and he joined me spotting for Jimmy. And I was spotting a race, and John was just telling Jimmy, save your tires, save your tires, save your tires. 15 to go. John said, you ain't got nothing left to save now, wide open now, man. 15 laps to go, use it up. And Jimmy would just walk away. They're so smart at saving the race cars, like the Hirschmans.
It's the same thing like Hirschman, yeah.
Yeah,
I was gonna say,
just like Hirschman. They're such smart racers, and you can learn a lot from watching families that are that good in racing,
Any of them long distance races, you can just watch Jimmy. He just hangs back. It doesn't matter where he starts, and you get about last 25% of the race in that car. You just see him start moving to the front.
Yeah.
He's really good at saving his equipment.
So other than that, I mean, there was a couple incidents, but they got the cars lined up pretty good, pretty quickly. A couple cars, I saw some bent upper control arms, things like that. They need to get the guys organized a little bit better, not on the track, but I saw a couple guys come in after one of the wrecks, and they're looking over the car, but they had guys pitting, and then the other car they were looking over, and I know you're trying to do it quick. He was blocking the whole lane, and Andrew came in for, I don't know if it was for a tire, I don't know what it was for. He had to back up and then go the long way around the pits to.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah,
that kills you.
Yeah, so I mean.
But there again, the pits were tight there Saturday night because we had all six divisions
were there. Yeah.
That's another reason why it's tough to have all 6 divisions there because the pits were so crowded. When we have one, we usually run rotated division off, Ted, and we have 5 divisions and 1 division off every week, and it does free up space in the pits that way also.
The Wall Stadium is good about giving you time to change your tire and stuff. They give you 3 laps, and then if you're rolling by the 3rd lap, they'll give you the 4th one.
I don't know. Sam Ballard screwed me one year with that deal.
And then.
Well, that brings us to the factory stocks.
Yes.
I want to apologize to the race fans. The factory stocks usually put the best racing on, and we really didn't do that Saturday night. It was one of those deals where we did time trial, like Ted talked about earlier, and we did redraw. It was all fast cars up there. We kind of went single file for a while. And we're getting so close now, and there's so many good cars. I mean, there's 10 cars that are pretty identical in times, and when we get lined up like that, it's almost like a modified thing. We can't pass each other. So in 3 weeks, when we start getting the handicap system going, we'll start mixing it up again, and you'll see the 2 wide and 3 wide racing. I did jump to the outside of Brian O'Shea a few times to try to pass him up there, and I would get a good run on him, and I just couldn't complete the pass. I just didn't have enough power to get by him because we both have the same engine, So
I saw you duck in behind Koenig, too, at one point.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because I was trying to pass Brian O'Shea on the outside, so then Jerry was able to get underneath me, and I hung on the outside of Jerry, and finally, I'm like, I got to let him go and then try to pass him underneath, and that's what I did, But, yeah, I mean, it was a decent race for the factory stocks, but it wasn't one of our better races, that's for sure. But that'll change in a few weeks. Like Ted says, the track needs to take some rubber. And as a racer and a car owner, I don't like the handicap system because it causes wrecks. But as a fan of racing, it does make for better racing because now the fast cars got to come up further back, and there's a lot more passing.
Well, to the factory stocks credit, there was only 1 yellow. I think it was Eric Bodenschatz spun in 3 and 4, brought out the yellow, and then they got the cars lined up pretty quick and went green again and finish the race. I mean, it was good.
That race was over in a flash, Josh. I don't even think I took one sip out of my water bottle. That's how fast that race was over with.
That's because you only had one chicken figure in that juice box.
Yeah.
He's going to have a juice box holder. And then
Josh, I have a question for you about the factory stocks.
Yeah.
One thing I like about opening night, and Scott's talked about in the past, like the factory stocks are the coolest looking cars when they look brand new. I was just curious of who you thought had the best appearing, nice shiny factory stock out there.
Who had that Malibu that I don't think even went out for the feature?
That's Sean Wall. He's new to our racing. That's actually a car I won with, Josh. That was the red, white, and black 79 that I won at Bridgeport with. He bought that car. Lee Allen had that car. Lee Allen traded that car to Shannon Monjo for Shannon Monjo's outlaw stocks that Lee's been racing down at Bridgeport. And then the Monjos had it sitting around, and Shannon was going to do something with it. And then they ended up selling it to Sean to race as a factory stock. He was having brake problems, though. I tried to help him out a little bit. He had too much rear. Yeah, he was going in the corner, and the rear brakes were locking up on him. And I did talk to Sean a little bit. And I said, Sean, bud, we don't run much rear brakes in these cars. We can't, with our rules package, we can't get much rear weight in these cars. So a lot of people, all you got to do is take the adjustment and back the brake shoes off the drum, Mm-hmm. And I kept telling him, like, it'll only take a minute, just go do it. And I don't know if he ever did it or not. And he didn't come out for the feature.
I don't remember seeing it out there.
So.
But I will say that was, I think that was the best looking car out there.
Hey Ted, I'll let you know a little secret of what car that is. Do you remember when Paul Hartwig did the race at Evergreen and he wrecked his car in the Enduro, and then he entered his car in the Demolition Derby, the orange 73 Malibu?
Yes.
That's that car. Lee Allen bought that car. I swear to God. Lee Allen bought that car off of Paul.
I knew that, but I was sworn to secrecy. Now Scott said
Yeah, loose lips sink ships, and I sink a lot of ships. So, Paul sold that car to Lee after Paul destroyed it up at Evergreen. I think it was during like one of those winter races or something, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Him and TJ Cabbage and Steve Tito got into it. They totally wrecked Paul's car, And then Paul's like, "Screw it, my car's already wrecked," and they're having a demolition that day. And he entered the demolition derby. But Lee did buy that car off Paul and totally redid it and did a beautiful job fixing it.
I think he took the front clip off, the rear off.
Yeah, there was
it was like the cage.
There was nothing left of that car that said Paul Hartwig on it anyway.
I tell you what, though, my brother's asking the best appearing cars out there all night long. People were coming over and compliment me on Nancy's car. And it made me to the point where I'm like, well, it's my car look like a hunk of junk? You know what I'm saying? But everybody really loves the color that Nancy picked out on her car, and it came out great. And we also got to say thank you to Timmy Steffen. I mean, half the reason the cars look so good at Wall Stadium is 90% of them. He does a great job for all the local racers, keeping the race cars looking great. I mean, we got guys like Elliott Wall who letters the cars up. We got Henry O'Neill that does a great job lettering our cars. I think Wall Stadium has some of the best looking race cars. Another racetrack I can honestly say that I love the way their cars look, especially their street stocks division, is Mahoney Valley, man. I tell you what, some of those Camaros up there are absolutely beautiful. Ted, who's some of the famous lettering guys up by you guys? Who letters a lot of those cars at Mahoney Valley?
A lot of it's actually Frankie Oldhouse, who runs a late model, and then you also have Scott Adams of Himmer Graphics.
Scott does a great job. Yep.
He lettered the 66, the 4-cylinder car.
Yeah, Neil Rutt's car. That's right.
Neil Rutt's car. Yep.
And the 18 factory stock, Billy Booth.
And I think the 2 4-cylinder as well.
Yeah, that's right. That got wrecked early, though. I felt bad for J.C. Duvall. He let a very young girl, Darianne McLaren's sister, gave her an opportunity to race a car, and I think she wrecked in practice.
Now, J.C.'s car was Elliott's. I think Elliott did the graphics on that. I don't know if Hemmer did those.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Elliott did do that this year. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. He has, Himmer has done it in the past, but I think Elliott did it for him this year. But I think Himmer sent Elliott a lot of the files, for the sponsors and the stuff like that, the logos and stuff like that. Elliott and Scott Adams do work together, and Henry and Neil, they kind of all work together. All right,
So Scott Adams he's a good guy. I've been in touch with him on Facebook about different things. He's very good guy to talk to. So
he does all your sign work at the Evergreen too, doesn't he, Ted?
Yeah, yep, he does. He does pretty much all of our sign work. Yeah.
So to wrap up the factory stock thing, Shannon Mondra crossed the line first, but was DQ'd for illegal steering parts, which gave Elliott Wall the win,
Wow.
followed by Kenny Green in second and Tim Majek or Magic in third. Now, Scott, we were talking about the steering parts, and it was an illegal center link?
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. I heard it was the center link. I just kind of. I had to get out of there, man. I had to go to race Grandview the next day, so I just loaded up and got out of there. But yeah, I talked to Ellie today, and something with Shannon Centerlink wasn't right or something.
Okay. Now, they make a shorter Centerlink, as an AFCO, aftermarket racing part for G bodies. Is that what it is?
Yeah, they make a Centerlink that corrects your for the bump steer, corrects your bump steer. It's right in the Speedway catalog.
Okay.
But I don't
Josh,
even know.
you can buy more. You can buy more cheater parts for a factory stock than you can in any other division. From whatever they make. It goes back to the day where Brzezinski manifolds right down the lug nuts. You can get whatever you want for.
But I explain that to people because a lot of times we're in tech and because we're the last feature, a lot of people come in the grandstands and they always wonder why the factory stocks are in tech the longest. And I explained to them it's because we're a stock division. We're the modified. I think we lost Ted, Josh.
Oh no, where'd he go?
But the way I explain it to the fans is because we're a stock division, we have more rules because we're not allowed to do stuff. Where the modifieds have less rules because they're allowed to do whatever they want. They're modified, you know what I'm saying? So the tech is a lot stricter with the factory stocks, and it does take longer to tech them,
Yeah. You go by how many, was it 6 or 7 cars were DQ'd that one night for aluminum pulleys?
Yeah. Yeah. It says right in the rules steel.
Some of the things are silly. If they let everybody run aluminum pulleys, that's not that big a deal. It's probably easier to buy them than it is to go to the junkyard and try to find.
The thing about aluminum pulleys is you can buy. They're true, they don't.
Yeah, there's some things.
Your belt's falling off and stuff, but that's what they want. The factory stock division. They don't want them bulletproof. They want them falling apart and stuff like that. But our cars run so good now. Everybody's got everything figured out. I'm sure Shannon will correct his car and put the correct stuff on it and come back and be just as fast. I don't think it's going to hurt him one bit. Shannon's a great driver. I love racing with him.
Yeah, he was doing well all night. He really, and I kind of agree with you. I think the car will be just as fast. Ted said he lost his Wi-Fi connection. We'll see if he comes back in.
Okay.
But that would wrap that up. My next question was going to be for Ted. What was his favorite race to watch out of the evening? And I was going to ask him what.
Well, while we're waiting for Ted to get back, we can talk a little bit about my day at.
Oh boy.
If you want. Yeah, or we can talk about Aaron, or we can talk about the. You want to talk about the 24?
Yeah, we're going to get to your Grandview, Grandview in a minute. So, Aaron, you were in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Running with 24 Hours of Lemons, and so just tell us about the weekend because I know a couple fun facts, but.
Pretty good weekend. New track for Lemons, so.
Oh, they've never been there before.
Oh, we've never run Pittsburgh, and they kind of, normally for us, Fridays is practice and tech day, and it's usually open practice. The track is open almost all day except for the, 1 hour lunch break.
Okay.
Well, this track decided to do it differently, and they ran it in sessions. They ran it like what a track day would be at your local road course, where they would leave, race prepared cars and then street cars. So we'd get to run for half an hour, and then some random people that weren't even racing would be out on the track. And
oh, wow.
So a lot of Lemons guys didn't even bother with the practice day because they do charge extra for practice.
Okay. And if you weren't going to get the full amount of time, why bother?
Yeah, and which was probably a detriment because this track, you need to practice. It's a very technical track. So, got through practice and Saturday.
Well, Aaron, real quick, tell us about the track. How many turns is it? What's the length of the track?
If I remember correctly, it's about 17 turns. It's about 2.5 miles.
Is it in your book, Scott? Is it in your book?
Let me get my book.
Pittsburgh International Race Complex. or Motorsport Complex, rather.
While Scott's looking that up, what kind of car do you have for that?
We run a 1986 Toyota Cressida.
Nice.
Yeah, it's basically an MK2 Toyota Supra with a sedan body on it.
Okay.
So straight six, probably about just under 200 horse, about 3,000 pounds. It runs pretty good.
Nice.
You know, decent fuel mileage, but it's fast enough to get us in trouble.
Now, how many drivers do you have for that?
Some weekends we run 4, sometimes we run 3. It comes down to our budget for the weekend. You know,
I hear you.
we don't have enough money to run 3 drivers. We gotta bring on a 4th to split the bill.
It's expensive for that, right? To sign up.
Yeah. And initial cost right out of the gate seems a little high. A lot of people don't take into account. I'm getting more seat time in one Lemons race than Scott is getting at Wall Stadium all year.
Oh yeah, and plus it costs a lot of money to rent those facilities.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
major facilities, yeah. So
Plus, if you have 4 drivers, you can split it.
Oh yeah,
right?
you're splitting everything. You're splitting your fuel costs. You're splitting tire bill. Which is
How many tires do you think you go through on a weekend like that?
Normally we can get a race and a half, like a weekend and a half or 2 weekends out of one set of tires.
Oh, can you really? Oh, that's great.
Yeah. It's not. It also depends on what you run. Some guys running the bigger cars are obviously eating up a little more. This track was a little tough on tires, but.
What was the name of the track you were at?
Pittsburgh International Motorsport Complex.
So now I'm gonna break the special part. You had a professional competitor.
Yeah, Greg Biffle was running. Greg Biffle came out and played and schooled everybody.
Really?
Schooled, especially Sunday in the rain. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they left him in the car all day Sunday.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I don't know how he did it, but...
Are driver changes mandatory?
No, you don't have to. You can, if you want, you can run by yourself.
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend it. 9 hours in a race car is a long time to be in the car.
So your average stint, how long would that be?
Anywhere from an hour and 45 minutes to 2.5 hours, depending on if we run 3 drivers, I'll do a 2.5 hour shift.
Okay.
This weekend was 4, so it was an hour 45.
So make sure you pee before you get in the car.
Yeah,
Okay.
no coffee before you get in.
Aaron, what town was that track in?
Wampum, WAMPUM.
Now, are those cars like completely gutted inside, or you still?
Oh
have,
yeah,
like,
no.
the radiator?
You got to remove pretty much most of the interior. Some people that still leave like the stock dashboards inside. The idea is $500 car, not including your safety equipment. Your cage, your fire suppression, your seat, brakes. They include brakes and tires and safety equipment. So.
No, I kind of looked into it. I'm like, I can bring one of my factory stocks here, but I heard they don't want like the NASCAR style roll cage.
No, they're very, very particular on how the cages are built. They want certain bars at certain angles, welded a certain way. They're very particular. I want to say they're almost paranoid about safety. There was a team that showed up at New Jersey last year. I think it was New Jersey. They had a minivan that they put a cage out of an ARCA car. Literally, they cut a cage out of an ARCA stock car, put it in this minivan, and it failed tech. They had to completely redo. They had to completely redo all because they don't want the chassis to be too stiff. Your cage can't extend past the wheelbase. You can actually build a cage around your fuel cell if you want, but it cannot connect to the main cage.
Yeah, they want them collapsed. They don't. The way it was explained to me when the Neats ran Wall Stadium, because we were having full cage cars with full hoops racing against cars without hoops. The state police explained it to us. They don't want a stiff car hitting a car that doesn't have that stuff.
What Lemons really wants is your factory crush structure in the front and the back.
Right.
And there's something to be said for it because last season at Thompson we had a Honda or an Acura Integra lose brakes going down the longest straightaway. They were doing about 105 to 110 miles an hour and lost brakes and center punched the wall and the guy walked away. The car was toast. The engine was almost touching the windshield.
Wow.
But he walked away. So they're very, very particular about safety. At most times, most circle track cars will not pass tech.
So, Aaron, one thing that we had talked about in, before the show in Messenger or whatever, was you guys got a penalty.
Yeah.
Now, you said around
Did you have to dance on your roof like a little tea kettle?
That's what happens when you get up to about three black flags in one day. They'll do something like that. One team, somebody did get saran wrapped to the car, and they drove around the pits. He had to apologize to everybody for driving like a jerk. Basically, it happened to me. I was the first one to get a black flag. Sunday in the rain. Our car's really good in the rain, and I was making headway. I was up to about 6th overall, and I got a little cocky. I was chasing a Miata down the fastest section of the track. Is a straightaway with 2 kinks in it. And next thing you know, I look up and that Miata is sideways in front of me. And all I did was pedal it a little bit, and the back end of the car stepped out on me. And tried to save it, almost had it, but went off into the grass, spun around, kept it off the wall, but that's a penalty. You know, they want you, basically, because it's a series of mostly rookies, they don't want anybody ever driving over their limits.
So when you get a black flag for spinning, what do you do? Or is that
there's a penalty box. You go in, you see the judges. It's one of them things where, and they make no qualms about it. If you self-report before the black flag is shown to you, they're a lot more lenient with you.
Okay.
You know, so you go in.
If you spin out, you have to go to the penalty box.
You spin out, you put 2 tires in the grass. You put 4 tires in the grass. If you make contact with somebody. Even if you get a little too much, if you get sideways to the point where you're 90 degrees, you're getting black flagged. They want you in control of the car at all times. They don't want anybody driving above their abilities, because you have
no driving over your head to make it.
Yeah, because there's so many different people with varying levels of skill on the track at the same time. You got to figure we had 84 cars on the track.
Oh wow.
You know, they don't want. Some people just don't have the skill ability. So they want everyone driving within their ability. So they'll penalize the hell out of you to make sure you do that. So I got sideways, went in, served, took the verbal lashing from the judges, and then finished out my shift. And then our third driver passed under yellow, because, it's road course. You have localized yellows. He passed under yellow, came in, got his lashing, then a couple laps later went out and went off into the grass. So he had to, they had a nice little game for him to play. I don't know if anybody remembers the game Simon.
Yes.
From when we were kids.
Yeah.
He had to get up to a certain level on Simon before they'd let our car go back out on track.
They do these rules on Wall Stadium.
Greg Biffle had to do it on Saturday.
Really?
Yeah, I forget what they called the penalty. One of the big parts of Lemons is bribing the judges, and one of the teams
I've heard about that.
One of the teams showed up with a bribe, what they had intended to be a bag full of T-shirts, but somebody by mistake, instead of bringing the bag full of T-shirts, showed up with a bag full of used doorknobs. Well, the judges, in their infinite wisdom and creativity, decided to make it a penalty. One of Biffle's teammates, I guess, went off or spun out or did something, got too many black flags. They came in. They gave Biffle this bag of doorknobs, and he had to smash the hell out of his car with them.
What, like just throw it at him?
Just grab that bag, and he hammered the hell out of the car, too. I tried to get video for you guys, but it was over so quick I couldn't get my phone out fast enough. He hit it, and doorknobs went everywhere. Sent them right back out.
Oh, that's awesome.
Now, did they frown on having Biffle there, or was he welcome with open arms?
No, you know what? They don't care who you are, as long as you come with the right attitude and you come to have a good time. For the most part, Biffle was pretty cool. He kind of stayed hidden most of the weekend, unless he was in the car. But I wouldn't be surprised because a lot of these road race guys don't watch NASCAR at all. I wouldn't be surprised if some people didn't even know who the hell he was, to be honest, But, everybody, at that point, Lemons is about having fun. And if you're just there to have fun, it doesn't matter.
Was there any other teams from New Jersey there?
Oh, we had teams because this was a new track. We had teams from all over. There were some teams from Jersey. There was teams from New York, but we also had a lot of Midwest teams come out.
Did former modified driver Mike Carpenter go out there with his car?
No, he didn't make it out this weekend. He'll probably be at Jersey. I haven't talked to him yet, but he'll probably be. He tends to stick to Jersey and Thompson. And Jersey's coming up in June, and then Thompson will be running in August.
What do you think about the road course at Thompson Motorsports Park? Do you like that?
It's fun. It's fun. My first time out running it, I wasn't a huge fan, but it grew on me. It's a fun track to run. I had a brain fart. I forgot where I was going.
What did you think of
Thompson?
I was going to say, what did you think of Pittsburgh? I mean, do you think it was a good track? Would you like to go back there?
I'll definitely go back again. It's like I said, it's a very technical track. I judge the track by how it races. There's a lot of road course guys that could care less about racing. They like how technical a track is.
Okay.
I grew up around
Did
the
it
same
have
track.
pit road?
It's got a pit road set up. Lemons and pitting, you're only allowed to do fueling and driver changes on pit road. But I judge it. I grew up around the same track you guys, so I care about how the track races, and it was a very fun track to race. A lot of elevation change. Josh, you would like it.
Yeah. Okay.
There was there was at least a couple 100 feet of elevation change in turn. I want to say turn 5 alone. You come down a little corkscrew, and then you right back up the hill. And if you ain't in the right gear, the car's gonna curse you out going up the hill.
The Chrome Arrow wasn't there, was it?
No, they didn't make the trip either.
Okay, I didn't think so.
What happens if you get a flat? You got to go into the regular pits to change those?
Yep, flat anything other than driver change
or fuel,
or adding ice to your cool shirt box, and that's it. That's all you can do. They call it the hot pits.
What road course would be your bucket list track that you want to go to that you haven't gone to yet?
That's a long list. The same weekend that Tim was down running the Triple B 100, I did Road Atlanta. That was a top 5 bucket list. Next, I want to do Watkins Glen, but Lemons will probably never go to Watkins Glen.
Why?
Well, again, like I said, safety. They're very particular. And Watkins Glen, the walls are off. There's not enough runoff area.
Yeah.
And the same thing with they might try Laguna Seca, but there's already 2 series that run at Laguna Seca. There's another crap can series called Lucky Dog and Chump Car.
Chump Car, yeah.
Well, it's Champ Car now, but since IndyCar gave up that moniker, they jumped on the licensing. It's Champ Car now.
I think Chump sounded better.
Yeah, I did too, but they're a little more serious than Lemons. Lemons is a lot more tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
But bucket list is definitely Watkins Glen, Laguna Seca. What else? Maybe Road America.
Do they do it at the Pocono road course?
No, they don't now. There's been talk about it. I don't know. Again, that's another track, maybe. Like we run New Hampshire because they've got a nice road course at Loudon. But if you ever look at the map, we stay as far away from them big concrete walls in the corners. They will not let us on the banking of the oval at all.
Yeah, you run down on the bottom, right?
Right. They're the 2 access roads that run.
Yep.
They run those instead. Even Thompson, when we run the oval backwards at Thompson, they put cones up on the banking to keep us off of it. They don't want us anywhere near that big concrete wall.
Now, and these guys will tell you, you know how much I want IndyCar to hurry up with their halo or their windscreen or whatever they're going to do because it's like, it's just too dangerous. I'm very pro safety, but does it bug you at all? I mean, now that you've actually run wall,
I fully understand why IndyCar hasn't jumped on the halo yet. Only because, when you're running, where are you supposed to be looking? Not at the car in front of you, as far ahead as possible. So when you're into banking at wall, you should be looking out of the top left of your window.
Basically, the A pillar gets right in the way of where you're supposed to be looking.
And if you see on the modifieds, a lot of guys are making their A-pillar on the left side clear now at a clear Lexan for that reason.
Sitting in a Formula One car, where does that halo run? Right where you need to look. If you're in banking, you're not looking straight forward. You're looking up. That halo runs right.
Okay. But
right where you need.
But what I was getting at more for you is, as much because I know you're a Lemons guy. I know you love it and you support them. Do you wish they would ease up just a little bit and let you run some banking?
They'll let you run banking. They just don't want.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
they
at
don't
those
want.
tracks,
Yeah, I do. I'd love to run.
You think it's a little overkill? A little.
It's
like you said, there's 83 cars out there.
And that was one of the smaller fields I've run was 83.
You don't know who's in those cars,
right?
Some joker doesn't know how to drive anything.
You got to take into account you're running in a series where some of these cars are doing 140 miles an hour down the straightaway.
Yeah,
and so you don't need. The only thing you need is a valid driver's license to race down. Okay, and some people have complained about it, but it's a series. It's meant to be a beginner series to go out and have fun.
Right.
That's the primary, is have fun. As much as, yes, I'd love to be able to run the banking or something at New Hampshire or even Thompson. You watch me sometimes, I'll actually, because they'll run the cones like a foot up the banking, and I'll use that as a passing line, especially in the rain at Thompson. I put 2 tires right on the banking, and I keep my foot down all the way around.
Okay.
Time-wise, you're running down on the apron is actually sometimes faster, but I carry way more momentum down that backstretch than they guys do.
Okay.
But, yeah, I mean, they get a little carried away sometimes, but they also make no qualms about it. It's their field. You want to play ball, you got to follow their rules.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm glad that the 24 hours of Lemons is drawing beginners like Greg Biffle.
Yeah, you know what? They get. He also did start with -5 laps. I don't know if that was because of him or they think because I went over and I looked at his. He wasn't around, but I was talking to a couple of his teammates, and it is a very well built car. You could definitely tell it was professionally. Somebody who knew what you knew. Biffle had his hands in it. He wasn't playing games with safety. He did it right.
Yeah.
You know, so if they definitely had to keep him specifically because he ran Class B, to keep him in Class B instead of Class A, they had to start with some penalty laps.
Wow. And then you told me he finally passed you because of you guys being in the penalty box.
Yeah, at the end of Saturday, they wound because they spent a little time in the penalty box themselves. They were like 22nd, and we were 9th.
Okay.
And come Sunday, I mean, and I talked to a few people that are fast. By Lemon's dead, they're fast, and he blew their doors off. We had our one guy on our team, Matt. He's a very, very good driver, and he lapped Matt. I want to say at least once inside of an hour. At least once on a 2.5 mile track. You figure how many cars you got to pass in the rain, and he schooled everybody on Sunday on driving in the rain.
Do you know where he finished overall?
He finished 7th. I got it right here. I'll double check. I'm pretty sure he finished 7th.
And where'd you guys finish overall?
9th.
That's not bad.
9th. Yeah, we were. I would like to say we were up to 6th. We were knocking on 5th place, knocking on the door of 5th place, and the wiener stepping began.
Did you eat any of the track food while you were there?
You know what? Honestly, Lemons, everybody shows up in barbecues. Nobody ever actually really eats track food.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it's like a big camping thing too,
right? Oh
right?
yeah, big camping thing. It's the best way I could explain it is it's a party where a race broke out. Everybody's there to have a good time. There's actually teams that show up and cook for everybody in the paddock.
Yeah, we have one of those. It's called Bill Stalker.
Unfortunately, he retired, so everybody's hungry in the pits.
There is a metric ton of barbecue going on at any given point, any portion of the paddock at a Lemons race. There was one team that was.
I heard penalties too. I heard sometimes they'll make you take your race car door to like a bar or something like that.
That happened. I want to say that happened. I think that was CMP that happened to the one team. Yeah, They made them go on a wild goose chase with taking pictures with their car door at different places in town.
I love it. I mean,
it keeps you out of trouble. It's the things they will do to keep you out of trouble. You know, you drive within your limits.
Do you have a crazy name for your team like some of those guys do?
Our team,
Cheaties, right?
That was based off a theme. My team name is the Three Pedal Mafia. We're one of the bigger teams on the East Coast. But our theme last year, 2 years ago, was it last year? 2 years ago, they won the Lemons National Championship. And Lemons goes out of their way to not actually give any, credit to the actual winners or the champions. It's more about, Lemons is more about who brought the crazier car or the wildest machine than it is who won.
Well, let's see. We have the most heroic fix, the judge's choice, the I got screwed,
yep,
the life of the paddock party. There's a dick in that car. Those are awards on their website that they give out.
My team might have actually had a hand in the dick in the car.
Well, the winner was the Two Pedal Mafia,
which was a branch off of us.
Okay, and a '94 Lexus SC400.
Yeah, with a Chevy LT1 under the hood.
Oh wow!
And
yeah, that's a $500 car.
Well, considering the LT1 is one of the worst small block Chevys you can put in a road race car, they don't last long. They've actually gotten further on that engine than anybody expected them to. They're known for sending rods out to blocks on the road course. But
the most I'm sorry, I was just going to say the most heroic fix was a glue stick.
It was Team Glue Sticks. That's a Jersey team.
Glue stick,
with a Jaguar. Yeah.
Yeah, Jaguar X tire. So I wonder what their fix was. Do you know?
I don't remember. It was I want to say it was an axle. An axle broke, tore up their transmission, and because it's a really obscure hard part to find, they actually managed to pull it off and get the car back out on track and finish the race.
With a screwdriver, a hammer, and a zip tie?
Probably. A very big hammer. It's about the only way to fix a Jaguar.
My favorite fix that I've read about was them fitting a carburetor over a fuel injected.
Yeah, that's happened a few times.
Okay.
That's happened more than once. There's one guy. Well, you've read about Speedy Cop and some of his antics. He did that with a T-Bird that he put an old, and I mean a land yacht T-Bird convertible.
Okay.
Blew up the Ford big block, so he put in a BMW V12 that shortly thereafter the computers took a dump.
Okay.
So he mounted an old military ammo box to the top, made his own intake, put a carburetor on it, and ran it.
That's something I'd like to see Scott do something like that. I think he could. Yeah.
Did anybody have a station wagon out there like the family truckster from Vacation?
Speedy Cop actually built the family truckster complete with stuffed dog dragon behind it.
Oh,
there's always one of those out there.
But
how did he do?
He didn't run this weekend.
No.
But there was a Pinto wagon out there this weekend that was in the way. A lot.
I'm a big station wagon guy. I like seeing station wagons out there.
Well, the Lemons is for you. You'll see quite a few of them. You will see more than one. Trust me.
Who had the camper?
How about
Speedy Cop?
Okay.
Speedy Cop had that. We had the boat.
The haulers that they bring.
Oh, that's everything from your ragtag, regular open trailers to one guy made his own ramp truck out of an old Freightliner cab over.
Nice.
You get all kinds of crazy stuff there too.
Same at the Enduro races I go to at Grandview. I watched one guy pull it, and he had a four-tire trailer, and two of them were flat, and there was literally just the sidewall left on the trailer tires. At one point, does he say, "I'm 10 miles from the track, and I'll make it"? Just let the tires shred off the rims.
Oh, there's some people that leave their Lemons cars street legal and drive them to the races, hope they don't blow up.
Right.
And drive them home. Some guys, some races, Lemons actually has a rally. Like a road rally. You go, you can take a car, go do, like like an Easter egg hunt. They'll send you all over the place, take pictures here, there, and then there's extra points for the guys that actually show up, do the rally, and then race the car.
This is insanity.
Yeah, a whole lot of it.
I can't recommend the series enough, though. Just of
Did you anybody ever bring a pacer?
Yes. There's been Pacers. There's been Gremlins. A team recently, this past weekend, ran a javelin.
Nice.
Oh wow!
If you were to bring a pacer, can you put a bigger motor in it?
Sure.
If you want it.
The crazier the better, because if they think for a minute, let's put it this way: the judges know what's going to work and what's not. A team recently just built a Rolls Royce and put a Viper engine in it.
Oh my God!
$500 car, my ass. But you want to know what? They know it's not going to finish. The car didn't make 5 laps before it blew up. So, a lot of times the judges will take it with a grain of salt. If you show up with something completely ridiculous,
like the Homer Simpson car.
The Homer Simpson car. My team ran an actual Rolls Royce a couple of years ago, and a Citroen SM. 2 cars that do not belong on a racetrack, and everybody started flipping out. $500 car, my ass. And the judges looked right at him and said, "It's a 5,000-pound Rolls Royce. You really think it's going to beat you? Come on."
But you did it just for the shocking.
Yeah, exactly. They went for the IOE, which is the Index of Effluency, which is Lemon's biggest award. It's doing the most with the least.
Okay.
And that's kind of on a sliding scale. It depends on what catches the judge's eye any given weekend. There's almost everything you can think of has been run. There's teams that have run.
What's the craziest thing you ever saw? You're like, damn, look at that! That's crazy.
To this day, my favorite, probably the craziest car, was a car they called Turbo Taxi. It was my first race. This car was there. It was an old New York City cab, Crown Vic, that somebody put a Mustang Cobra engine in it with 2 really ginormous turbos. And the car had to be pushing every bit of 600 horsepower. And the car never finished a race. They had 4 drivers on this team, and only one guy ever got to drive it before it blew up every race. But my first race, it passed 110 cars in 9 laps. It was hauling the mail. It passed my team. The guy that was driving our car, there was video of it. He moved by it so fast, it was retarded. Right up until it blew up.
Yeah, of course. All right, so Scott, Grandview, you want to tell us about how your weekend or your Sunday went?
Yeah, Sunday went great. I got home late Saturday night from the Wall Stadium, of course, and, took a shower, ate a little something, went to bed. I think I got to bed about 1:30. I woke up at 7 a.m. I had to unload the Wall Stadium cars, get them in the garage, and load my dirt car. I was out there 7:30, 8 o'clock Sunday morning starting up race cars. So, once again, I have the best neighbors you can possibly have because not one of them complained or yelled at me. I picked my crew chief, George Reynolds, up around 9:30 out in Jackson. We headed out to Grandview. We're there easily by 11:30. But it was raining. It rained all the way out there, raining, misting. And I really didn't think we were going to get the race in. And they kept saying it's going to clear up. It's going to clear up. And it was just like this weird, heavy mist, all day. And they ran the 4-cylinder cars first. And sure enough, halfway through the 4-cylinder race, it started clearing up. The mist went away, and it never got sunny or nothing, but it started clearing up. And they ran the vintage cars they had there. And then by the time it was time for our race, the track was perfect because it was muddy there. Like tow trucks were getting stuck. That's how muddy it was. Like tow trucks were getting stuck, cars were getting stuck. But by the time it was ready for my race, it almost to the point where they might have been put the water trucks out there again, which I was hoping they didn't because, like I told you before, Josh, Grandview Speedway is identical to Wall Stadium, high banked, about the same size. And when it gets dry, I drive it like Wall Stadium. And sure enough, we're waiting to go out, and I never seen the water truck move. I'm like, this is going to be good for me, And I was starting 4th, and the race went perfect. And by the end of the race, I was driving it just like Wall Stadium, and it went my way. And I was there was 20. I think we had 23 cars, 21 think started because we did have practices, and I think a couple of cars dropped out in the practices. I started fourth, and I took the lead on like lap 63 or 64 or something like that from Timmy Pouch, who's one of the best dirt racers there is. He's Billy Pouch's brother, and Billy Pouch Jr.'s uncle. He just chose the enduro route instead of the modified routes, and the Pouches even say he was the best driver of the family. So I was able to beat him, and by small margins. I passed him in lap traffic. I was right on his bumper, and he got tangled up with a lap car, and I was able to pass him. And I was able to hold him off. He was right on my bumper. It was a close racing. Usually the enduros get spread out a little bit, and this race didn't. It felt like a real race the whole time I was in it. And I left there with another win from Grandview Speedway. That's my second win there. I'm telling you, I love this Outlaw Enduro Series. They do such a great job. You know, they have a 4-cylinder division race. They have a mechanics race. They have a junk car race and the big car enduros.
And trucks.
Yeah, they started this new. It's called the Outlaw 4x4s. They're like Jeeps. You know, they're like hill climb trucks, and they set them to race the oval, and they fly. They got big motors and stuff in them. They were there too, but man, they're all-wheel drive, and they run these big Jeep snow tires, and they tear the track up. Man, they're shooting the mud up into the grandstands. But I was shocked they got it in. Actually, being a nice day by the end of the afternoon. We did get out of there a little later because the show did start a little late because of the weather. But I'm happy they got it in because now I got to win. I finished second to Timmy Pouch in the first race of the series. I think it's like a 10-race series. And I finished second to him. He won. So now I won and he finished second. So that makes us tied for points. So I'm going to keep running out there and see what happens.
Nancy didn't go with you this time, right?
No, Nancy, she works at an accounting firm. She was lucky to make it to Wall Saturday night, let alone try to get out of work on Sunday for tax season. Right. But now tax is over, so we're going to start running a little bit more on dirt. Plus, I don't know if I would have took her car out there anyway because, the expense there and the weather being iffy. We're definitely going to play what races we bring her to by weather. You know what I'm saying? I had to go because I'm racing for points out there, and I thought I was racing the trip out there. When I woke up in the morning, it was raining. I'm like, man, I might as well just go back to bed, but I'm glad I went out there. We probably would have left her car home anyway because of the weather being so iffy. But yeah, she had to work, so she wasn't able to race, but we hope to get her back out at Big Diamond in May.
Not to interrupt you, but what happened to Nancy Saturday? She went into the infield or something?
You really want to know?
Everybody was asking me, and I'm like, I don't know.
I was nervous. I built the car and everything. So when I seen her sitting in the infield, I'm like, why is she down there? I'm like, what broke? So when I drove by, I kind of went low on the track, and I kind of listened. I'm like, well, the motor's running. And I kind of even looked in their car and saw the gauges, were like that had oil pressure and everything. So I'm like, well, the car's running. I don't know what's going on, And I didn't know what was going on today after the race. I said, Nance, why'd you pull in the infield? She said, when they were getting ready to go back green, she was scuffing the tires, turning the wheel back and forth. And she knocked her belts off. She had her seatbelt latch, and her seatbelts came undone. Oh. So she didn't want to go green with the seatbelts being off. So she pulled in the infield and told the tracker, hey, give me a second. I got to put my seatbelts on. And they did. They gave her a second to get her seatbelts back on, and she joined the.
Did she run the cam system or the old style with the latch?
We run the old style with the latch, the Simpson belts with the latch. I've never had a problem with it. It was a freak thing, so we're gonna have to look into that and see what happened there.
That happened to was it John Force? Somebody reached. He reached to hit the parachutes and
clipped
something on his.
Lock. I don't like the cam lock belts myself.
No, it wasn't the cam. It was the
latch link. Really?
Yeah. I don't know if it was like an arm restraint or whatever.
Might have been.
Hooked it, popped it. So when the chutes came out, he went forward, hit his head on the dash.
Oh my God.
That was a while ago. But yeah. So in the aspect of safety, yeah, good call on her part, and I'm glad that the track was. It's like. Yeah, get your safety stuff sorted out and then go back out.
That's why I look at it. We wade through the sportsman wrecking every freaking lap and the late model knocking the fence down. So give someone 20 seconds. And literally it took her 20 seconds to put the belts. She said they weren't off. You know what I'm saying? She noticed the latch was up and she just needed a second to pull in, stop, take her hands off the steering wheel and just lock it back in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And she was able to do it and kept racing. So.
Well, one thing they did it to the modifieds, and I was surprised because normally I only see it happen to the factory stocks where they're like, all right, we're going green this time, and the field's all strung out still, and everybody's flying trying to get up there, get lined up, before they get to the line. They actually did that to the modifieds. Once or twice, and I was like, "Oh, good. At least they're giving it to everybody." It forces them to move. One thing we forgot to mention: Mike Alcaro won the Legends race, followed by Kevin Nowak and Rob Silver. Just wanted to throw that top three out there.
And we did have a good showing of Legend cars, and one of the reasons why is we did get some Riverhead Legend cars down because Riverhead hasn't started yet. So at the beginning of the year, we do get some of the Riverhead guys down. So it was good to see that we had a decent field of Legend cars because we've been struggling to draw Legend cars at Wall Stadium lately too.
Yeah, they have a good, and the Legends had a pretty good race for the most part because sometimes they'll have like 4 red flags or something. They actually had a pretty good run. They were the only division to run heat races.
Yeah, that might have been like an INEX thing.
I think it was, yeah. I actually wanted to see heat races, but
I hate single car qualifying.
Yeah, yep.
See, me and Scott grew up with time trials, so it doesn't really bother me that much. New Egypt back in the day, everything's time trials, and everything's time trials down south, and the modified tour, it's always time trials. So I'm used to that.
Talking about Nancy, she actually time trialed pretty good. She was 16 out of 24 or something like that. That was pretty good for her. She likes time trialing.
And it was consistent. She had 16 sixes both laps.
Oh, I know. It was like almost identical laps, and that's a good sign, too.
So that showed consistency. She didn't run quite as well in the feature I saw, but she was stuck with traffic, too. So
yeah.
But everybody's lap times are a little off. So yeah, that about wraps.
Just real quick, Josh, just to prove that the Outlaw Enduro Series isn't a bunch of cheap asses, I did get a trophy.
All right, that's a good one too.
Outlaw Enduro Series, April 14th, 2019.
Very good.
And it's real marble. It's a nice heavy trophy.
That's a sign of a good trophy, real marble.
Yeah.
Before we go off, we've been talking about that Lanier Speedway. I sent that thing in our group.
I've seen that.
I didn't know that place was closed. Did you know that?
I didn't know it was closed either.
Yeah, did you know that, Josh?
No.
I was right across the street from it in December.
Well, we're closed
now. Road Atlanta. It's literally right across the street, but I don't. I thought it was only closed because it was December.
Yeah. And we saw they convicted the guy from was it was it the Speed Bowl?
Yeah, he got convicted there.
For human trafficking
sentences.
Yeah, apparently, the tracks from the articles that I've been seeing, it's business as usual as of right now.
Okay.
They're I guess the people that are leasing it from him are going to continue to go on as planned, from what I saw.
Oh, good for them. I hope that the track is okay.
That's gonna turn into a legal battle. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea what happens when you end up.
If they seize his properties from all that, or you know what I mean. If the feds come in and seize the property and auction it off, or his businesses aren't infected, by what he did, or I don't, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
What he got convicted for, I should say.
That's a wait and see kind of thing.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the Speed Bowls have been one of those tracks. It's had a dark cloud over its.
I saw a few other articles coming up about Nashville and all that stuff. But we're just going to keep sharing that up on the Facebook page. We'll let you guys follow along there, and when we get more definitive details, we'll comment on it. But I think that'll about wrap everything up. So I think it's time for what have we learned today?
Well, we got the Sunday series.
Actually, yeah, Tim, we showed a great video of the twins duking it out on the track there. That was actually some pretty good racing.
Yeah, they did good this too. I didn't go into the pits because my oldest daughter was feeling under the weather, and my mom was with Scott at Grandview. So we didn't want to bring her in the pits and have her wanting to come home. So luckily, I was sitting in the stands because I get more nervous watching those two race than I do spotting for a living. So Luckily I was in the grandstand, but they did do good. I was proud of them, and good car count. I guess with Riverhead closing down, somebody posted a video of the Flathead series, which is like the modified series for.
Okay.
There had to be 15 of those guys there for practice, so that's a good strong car count for us on a Sunday.
What Tim meant by Riverhead closing down, of course, Riverhead didn't close down; they're still open for business, but they did stop their go-kart program. So we're thinking a lot of the people from Riverhead's go-kart program will come and race the Sunday series at Wall.
Yes,
that'll be good.
And another reason why it'd be a good idea for someone by that Wall Speedway in Pennsylvania. That mean Tim went to visit. What was that? Boyerstown or something? Tim?
Borgers.
What was the name of that track?
Borgers
Speedway. It'd be perfect for someone to reopen that now, and the Riverhead guys can go there and race their go karts. You know.
From what I heard, that's one of them towns where one guy owns everything.
Where Borgers?
Yeah, he owns Borgers. Yeah. From what I hear, that's one guy. That's one of them towns where one person owned literally everything in town.
And I guess that one guy doesn't like racing because he had the track shut down.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, that's a shame. It's a beautiful place. Did you want to mention about the flamboyant announcer coming back to Bowman Gray Stadium?
We don't talk about.
I just sent that out to.
Because I've been down there with that. That's like wrestling. That guy makes it like wrestling.
Which I'm against.
Yeah, which is just promoting let me put it this way. This is going to – keep in mind this coming from me. The better use for that place is football. That's how bad the racing product is. I will only support the only vehicle I will support is a bulldozer.
Bulldozer racing.
Yeah.
I've had the opportunity to spot there, and I almost doesn't count, I know, but 2 times almost got the win there with 2 different drivers. You can race there. The problem is that they don't choose.
I've never seen it.
I'm talking about when the tour cars are there, not so much Saturday night antics, but.
Well, yeah, but anyway, real quick, I wanted to mention, since Ted Groh was on, opening day, April 28th for Evergreen. Tour mods have 75 lapper, 2,000 to win, and 300 to take the green. Racing starts at 2 p.m., $18 general admission, plus street stocks and factory stocks and 4-cylinders. So,
and it was great having Ted Groh on with us, and we hope to have him on for most of the year with us because he can give us all the updates from Evergreen and all the racing going on.
We're gonna have him on more often, and we're also going to start at our normal earlier time.
It took you about a year to get him on.
Yeah, it did take a while. But it took a while for Jimmy Blewett, too, but that worked out.
They're both worth the wait, so we're good.
Yeah.
All right, so what have we learned? I'm going to go first.
Okay.
I learned that Ted Groh has horrible internet service, and we lost him halfway through the show. So we did get him on, but we only had him on for half the show. But it was great having Ted on, and I hope he returns back on. Tim, what have you learned?
I learned that where the Lemons race that he was at, they actually stopped for an hour for lunch. That's a good.
Tim like that.
Yeah, that's good. I actually learned a lot of. It was cool to have you on tonight because I've had a million questions. I've been very curious about that division for a long time. I wish you luck at that. It sounds like you're having fun.
Oh, it's a blast. Yeah, I recommend it to anybody. You guys should come out and race.
Scott, how's your notebook coming along?
Still haven't have it.
I learned it. Scott.
Already this year, though. Tim.
I learned Scott can only eat one chicken finger before he races.
You beat me to it. Damn it.
Aaron, anything else you learned?
Ted Groh got tired of our ass.
Yeah.
Scott had a Thanksgiving chicken finger meal before he got in the car. And that's about it.
All right. Today I learned that McLaren has a window licker behind the computer.
So does the RPM podcast.
Yeah. Wow, I don't have that. Hang on.
I'm going to mute you now.
I don't know where my dough went. Oh, well.
Don't.
Anyway, I also learned that Evergreen burns up the brakes on the way in and burns up the clutches on the way out.
It's true. True story.
I learned that Scott demanded his juice box with his kids' meal.
I did.
That's what.
Hey, for $5, I want the whole package.
I learned that Randy Hart is the Elliott Sadler of the four cylinders. I learned that Greg Biffle is a beginner.
That's right.
I learned the pits are hungry now that Stockert retired. And I learned that Scott took a shower before running Grandview. I don't know why, but that was part of the story. So, yeah, this was a lot of fun. This is a good show.
I wanted to mention, I had a lot. I say it all the time, but I had a ton of people come up to me Saturday. And first of all, the place was packed Saturday.
What
so
a
lot
crowd!
Yeah, there was a lot of extra people there. I had less than 10, and but more than 5 people come up and say how they like the show. This one guy, we stayed at the very end because Scott races last, and my girls were there, and I'm there with my mom, and I got baby carriages and dolls and everything else to pick up. So here I am picking up all this stuff, and just how I want to put it, a big guy comes over, like muscle guy comes over, like he's headed like right for me. I'm like, this guy looks like he's coming over here to yell at me. Like, I don't even know who he is. I do spot for Jimmy Blewett there on occasion, and I have gotten yelled at in the grandstands before.
I could see how that would get you yelled at.
I'm like, this guy's gonna come over here and punch me in the face or something. Like, I could just see he comes over and goes, I just want to tell you something. I'm like, okay. He goes, I really love you on the RPM podcast. I'm like, shoo. So I didn't get beat up that night. So whoever that was, thank you for the compliment, and everybody else. So just wanted to mention that I didn't get beat up.
And I did have people come over to my pits and say that they did look for go-kart seats for Tim's daughter. So people really paid attention to the show. So
we did get that all straightened out. So now Billy wants new shoes. I gotta get new shoes. And Alexis needs bearings, and she burnt the clutch out of it.
We're gonna get deep here, guys.
It never ends.
It never ends.
Tim Hartwick, you could ask for that stuff.
I wasn't asking for it for free. I'm just saying that's what we need.
Wow.
CJ
went there.
That's 11 o'clock. It was a great time. It was a great time having you on with us, Aaron. It was a great time having you on, Ted. Wall Stadium is off this weekend. They do have practice on Saturday, but we are not racing because of Easter Sunday. So just to let everybody know that there is practice there, but not racing.
I miss opening night, and now they're going to Easter because of something
Yeah,
stupid
now,
like
now we
Easter.
get a
They're
week
not
off.
racing.
Yeah.
Yeah, people think while we're on, people think that a lot of the modified tour people are going to be there, on which I hope they are. But there's a practice at Stafford Friday before that, so I don't know how many.
It's only a couple hours drive.
I don't know how many tour people are going to be, but it's set up different,
Yeah.
You have to tear the car apart, or you bring another car, which most people have. But
All right, so
that comes down.
That wraps it up for today, and we just want to thank everybody for listening. And it was a great time, and we'll try to do it again next Monday.
Yeah, we'll be back. And in the meantime, go to Wall.
Go to Wall. Good night, everybody.
Go Lemons Racing.
Yeah.